Hi guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called I Accidentally Saved the Male Lead's Brother. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! Have you ever imagined how it feels like to be a main character? Well, probably most of us dreamt of a life from a main character's point of view. However, in this case, Charlotte Rania, a girl who lives free from any obstacles and just enjoys her ordinary life as a noble, suddenly finds herself in an opposite situation. Seems like she begins living upside down when she saves a kid's life named Theodore Heinst, who turns out to be the younger brother of the male lead. Let us witness the changing of character of Charlotte as she turns out to be the girl she never imagined she would become. Will her life change for the better, or will she regret entering the life of a main character? It all starts with a lost boy in a forest, standing there alone in the middle of an eerie forest, asking for help. He is looking for his older brother while bursting into tears. Suddenly, a lovely lady emerges, witnessing the young boy sobbing in fear. Assuming he is lost, the kind-hearted woman contemplates helping him find his family. However, her intentions shift abruptly when the boy turns to face her, revealing his clothes drenched in dark red blood. Shock and fear grip her as she realizes the child is unmistakably soaked in blood, and her eyes widen further when she spots a familiar symbol on his coat. Her astonishment deepens when she recognizes the symbol from 3 years ago. Back then, Charlotte was a character in the novel The Duke's Contract Wife. However, her narrative ended tragically as she was struck by a truck, a common occurrence in romance fantasy novels. Yet, instead of meeting an afterlife, her soul traversed dimensions and inhabited a body of a baron's daughter. Strangely, after completing the book, she never encountered any mention or appearance of her character, indicating that she would now be living a reality outside the pages of the novel. As an ordinary noble instead of a female lead who would certainly endure all the hardships that a main character could ever possess, she is beyond glad to know that she's not a villainess nor a supporting character as well. Returning to the present, where Charlotte encounters the male lead's character, she remains hesitant, but the boy becomes increasingly hysterical. Unable to ignore his distress, she finally asks him what happened. Suddenly, a man named Caesar appears and aids them in the search of the lost boy's elder brother. Charlotte embraces the frightened child, attempting to offer comfort. It becomes apparent that there was an ambush, triggering Charlotte's fear of the events foretold in the novel. Deciding to take action, she brings the child named Theodore with her. Upon their arrival, she promptly orders a doctor, leaving the maids in a state of shock and concern. Charlotte introduces Theodore to her mother, and they decide to provide shelter and protection until someone comes to claim him. Little does Charlotte realize, this marks the beginning of her unexpected journey. Meanwhile, the older brother frantically searches for Theodore, expressing deep concern and instructing his servant to find the younger boy at all costs. Frustrated and blaming himself for letting Theo go alone, he contemplates his decisions. In the midst of his turmoil, a letter arrives from Charlotte containing the news he didn't expect. Minutes later, Caesar delivers the news about the said assassination. Upon hearing it, she can't help wondering why the events seem different from the novel. According to the original novel, Theo should have died. The mystery deepens as they discover that there are no fatal injuries, but instead, traces of magic linger around the scene. Charlotte, suspecting magical involvement, instructs Sir Caesar to summon a sorcerer from the neighboring estate. However, Caesar hesitates, citing the expense of hiring a sorcerer and their lack of funds. In response, Charlotte smiles and proposes a solution. Selling her jewelry, even if it means parting with gifts from her parents. She is determined to prioritize the safety of the Rania estate with her family. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted by Theo's loud voice, and the moment he sees Charlotte, he comes running to her. He seems scared and only wants Charlotte, whom he calls his big sister, around. Charlotte grants his request, and she begins to bathe Theo, who thoroughly enjoys the refreshing experience. After the bath, Charlotte dresses him in an adorable outfit. Theo looks so adorable in those pajamas holding his stuffed toy. As the night approaches, Charlotte suggests reading a bedtime story to Theo, who shows visible excitement at the idea. Choosing a tale about a wizard and his friend Celine, with a happy ending where they reconcile after facing challenges, Charlotte reads aloud. Turning her attention to her side, Charlotte observes Theo peacefully asleep, holding on to his stuffed toy. A sense of joy fills her as she reflects on the positive impact of meeting Theo. Yet concerns linger as she notices his unease when she's not around. This unease is expected since he's surrounded by strangers, with Charlotte being the only person he trusts. In the midst of these thoughts, Charlotte recalls the tattoo she noticed on Theo's back. The realization surprises her as she learns that the Heinst family tattoos their members from a young age. Before she can delve deeper into her contemplations, Emma, one of her maids, knocks on the door with a worried expression. Upon hearing that Viscount Lotheon is in their house, Charlotte is taken aback. The Viscount's presence causes a commotion on the first floor as he actively searches for Charlotte. This unexpected visit adds tension to the once peaceful atmosphere, creating an uneasy feeling in the air. Meanwhile, Theo notices that Charlotte's gone, so he gets out of bed to look for her. Oh no, what if he gets hurt? Charlotte faces the Viscount, who stands his ground with a smug expression. He inquires about the proposal, an offer for Charlotte to marry him and become his wife to settle all debts concerning the Rania territory. Charlotte, feeling uneasy about the proposition, responds with assurance that she intends to repay all the debts over time without accepting his marriage proposal. The Viscount's disappointment becomes evident at her words. With determination in her voice, Charlotte firmly declines his offer, stating unequivocally that there is no way she would consider becoming his wife. The Viscount, caught off guard by her refusal, reacts impulsively and raises his hand as if to slap her. However, in an unexpected turn of events, Theo steps in between them to prevent the Viscount from harming Charlotte. In a surprising display, it appears that Theo, fueled by anger and a protective instinct for Charlotte, subconsciously creates a magical barrier to defend her. The Viscount screams in pain and threatens both Theo and Charlotte. He warns Charlotte about the debts, giving her only 2 days to pay. After his furious exit, Theo shares that he came looking for Charlotte because he misses her. They head to his room to sleep, but suddenly Theo collapses. Charlotte acts fast, preventing him from getting hurt. Feeling guilty, Charlotte stays by Theo's side despite the maid's suggestion to rest. Later, when talking to the doctor, there's no good news as they can't figure out why Theo collapsed. The nanny calls Charlotte with a worried, tearful voice. Unfortunately, Theo's fever has worsened and the news is grim. There's a possibility he might not make it through the night due to the severe fever. The terror on Charlotte's face grows as she hears this troubling information. No, that can't be! She rushes in, already in tears at the sight of him struggling. Theo calls to her, extending his arm to wipe her tears. Charlotte embraces him, assuring him that everything will be okay. Despite Theo's promise to protect her, her tears intensify when he doesn't respond. Overwhelmed, she cries herself to sleep beside him. When she wakes up, she finds herself next to Theo and realizes she dozed off. Thankfully, Theo's fever has improved. As Theo recovers, returning to his cheerful self, he enjoys eating his requested pudding. Suddenly, the servant informs her that Duke Heinst is in their mansion. Oh, such godly features! He looks so handsome! Duke Heinz exudes a commanding and masculine presence, surrounded by a dark aura that even intimidates the servants. The nanny advises Charlotte to retreat to her room, but she declines, feeling a sense of responsibility in the absence of her parents. With an assuring smile, Charlotte bravely descends the stairs with Theo in her arms. Theo's smile widens upon seeing his older brother. Charlotte recalls that Carlyle Heinst, Duke Heinst's second son, is Theodore Heinst's older brother. The two brothers share a reconciling hug, their embrace filled with palpable sense of longing. Theo beams with excitement in Carlyle's arms, while Charlotte quietly observes from the corner. Carlyle's sharp eyes fixate on her, leaving Charlotte stunned by his intimidating gaze. It's exactly the same as how the novel describes him, like a beast, akin to a wild wolf. Breaking the silence, Charlotte bows to show respect and introduces herself. To her surprise, Carlyle expresses gratitude and, after thanking her, instructs Theo to accompany him. With an excited tone, Theo asks Charlotte if she would join them. Oh, there's no going back now. Theo is too attached to her like a kid to his mom. However, he explains to the child that only he and Theo will be going home since Charlotte resides in that house. This prompts Theo to decline the offer to go home, firmly deciding to stay with Charlotte instead. Despite attempts to persuade him to leave, Theo keeps pushing Carlyle away because he wants Charlotte to remain with them. His distress escalates into hysterical crying and tantrums, making it challenging for them to calm him down. Suddenly, he ceases all movement, his eyes remaining wide open. He neither sleeps nor responds, staring blankly into space. I don't know, but I find this funny that he's unconscious after resisting to what he wants. Witnessing Theo's alarming condition, both Charlotte and Carlyle are deeply concerned. Charlotte, in an attempt to wake him up, shakes him vigorously. Unexpectedly, a faint light emerges after a few seconds of Charlotte holding Theo's hand. Carlyle is deep in shock that he starts holding her hand too. The same with Theo's. Carlyle's hands glow upon Charlotte's touch. Does she possess some divine powers of healing or what? Later that day, Theo eventually falls asleep, but Charlotte remains puzzled about the inexplicable light that appeared when she held both Theo and Carlyle's hands. Moments later, Carlyle enters the room looking intently at her. In her defense, she starts telling the truth that she doesn't know anything about it. Suddenly, Carlyle asks her about a phrase and a suitable person behind it. At this moment, Charlotte knows that she's in a state of emergency, a kind of signal that she might upset him with one wrong move. Magicians use their inner energy called mana to do magic, but it's a delicate job, so it's important to learn how to control mana first. However, some people, a small group, can still use magic even if they don't have mana. They're called Roseto. They got special powers from the first magicians, but there's a big problem. If their mana suddenly explodes, their body gets too hot, and it makes them really sick. If they don't do something about it, they could even die. That is what happened to Theo. When Theo accidentally hurt the Viscount, Charlotte figured out her theory. If Theo is a Roseto, it would explain everything. Charlotte finally understood why the assassins didn't leave any magic signs. It's probably because Theo's mana exploded. Poor kid. He must have been very scared to see dead bodies around him that time. It also explains the blood splatters on his clothes. This also clarifies Theo's tattoo on his back, which is a pattern that represents a Roseto. Charlotte gazes at her hand, contemplating the idea that she might be a suitable person, someone necessary for a Roseto who struggles to control mana on their own. The evidence is too convincing to ignore. In this moment, Charlotte realizes that she's no longer just an ordinary noble existing on the sidelines of the story. She is now deeply intertwined with the main character's life. Carlyle proposes that until Theo learns to control his mana, Charlotte should take on the role of the Duchess in the Heinst family. OMG, this happened sooner than expected. Later that night, Charlotte remains awake, pondering Carlyle's earlier proposition. She begins to envision how her life might unfold as a Duchess. Considering the option of being a home teacher instead, Carlyle informs her that home teachers can't unite the Heinz Knights. Approaching her, the closing distance leaves her speechless and stunned. He earnestly pleads for her acceptance, expressing concern as an older brother that Theo might have another mana explosion. To sweeten the deal, he offers a fair payment. Considering her debts and the need to protect her child, Charlotte, after some contemplation, requests time to think. And so, a 5-year marriage contract is proposed, and despite the late hour, she continues to weigh the benefits of the substantial payment for herself and her family. The next day, Carlyle returns to inquire about her decision. With a smile and unwavering certainty, Charlotte accepts the offer. However, Charlotte has some conditions to set. Her first condition may sound ironic: no marriage. She clarifies that she won't agree to marriage without being engaged first. This leads them into a discussion about the engagement, as Carlyle is eager to move things forward despite the standard 1-year engagement period. In the back of her mind, Charlotte recalls the novel's plot, realizing that within a year, Carlyle may not need her anymore. According to her memory, Penelope, the novel's heroine, appears about half a year after Theo's attack, and their meeting takes place at a palace banquet. In the original novel, Carlyle tormented himself with the sadness of losing Theo. At that time, he didn't know about the Roseto yet. Lost in thoughts about what might happen, Charlotte looks down, pondering the future. Carlyle doesn't know he's a Roseto, making things even more complicated. While deep in thought, a hand touches her, bringing her back to the present. Apologizing for not paying attention, Charlotte adds another condition, which Carlyle agrees to. With everything settled, she signs the contract, but now a new worry pops up: how to convince her parents about this decision. Since her dad isn't interested in power, she knows convincing him won't be a piece of cake. An idea crosses Charlotte's mind about the national founding ceremony they both attended. They decide to create a convincing love story to support their contract. Suddenly, Carlyle takes out a necklace from his coat, showing it to Charlotte and handing it to her. This necklace is a secret between them, known only to Carlyle. Their plan is carefully thought out, and they shake hands as a final agreement. But something's been bothering Carlyle about what happened in the national founding ceremony. That evening, Charlotte's father returns home, happily greeting his daughter. Amidst their joyful bonding, the Viscount appears with a smirking face, demanding money and threatening her with increased interest. His eyes widen in shock as she hands him a check with the complete amount, including the interest. He can't believe what he's seeing, never expecting her to have such a large sum of money in just a few days. With a proud air, she displays that she's more than capable of paying him. Everyone is taken aback when the Viscount tears the check in frustration. His anger intensifies and he grabs Charlotte's father by the collar, hurling insulting words in a fit of rage. Unable to accept that Charlotte's family could pay him in full, he loses control, behaving like a wild beast and even resorting to threatening Charlotte. However, Carlyle arrives, asking what he's doing to his fiancée. Wow, is this a knight in shining armor to the rescue? The Viscount's reaction is priceless, as if he's just heard impossible news. His jaw drops and his eyes register shock. Good thing he didn't pee in his pants. Charlotte's father is equally surprised by the sudden appearance and the news of his daughter having a fiancé. His eyes widen, ready to burst with anger. Charlotte stammers, attempting to explain to her father. Then she glares at Carlyle, silently communicating through her eyes that what he did was a wrong move. Carlyle, who has been investigating the Rania family, figures out that Baron Rania is someone who deeply cares for his daughter. The three of them sit down to chat, and the Baron keeps asking questions about how Charlotte and Carlyle ended up together. He genuinely wants to know if the Duke truly cares for his daughter. Charlotte and Carlyle look at each other, trying to signal their answers and make sure they sound believable. Carlyle, who's good at acting, speaks convincingly. At home, the investigation is still ongoing about the assassination. Aside from that, he also made an investigation about the Rania family. Charlotte's family isn't that well off. They are in debt from a man who proposes marriage to the Baron's daughter as a payment. Also, it turns out that Charlotte sold her sapphire jewels just to help a kid she just met. If she was able to sell such jewels, why couldn't she use it to pay the debt? Carlyle's assistant explains that it was a gift to her coming of age, so the Baroness did all she could not to sell it. She has such a pure heart. We must protect her at all costs. Just then, Carlyle orders his assistant to search for all the sapphire jewels and to bring them to him immediately. When the assistant leaves through the door, the Duke feels a familiar pain that only went away when he held Charlotte's hands. Does this mean they're going to hold hands all the time? Oh, I'm being nosy here. Outside, we can see how happy Theo is with Charlotte. However, as they are playing, a vase falls off from the balcony towards Theo's head. Carlyle is about to intervene when Charlotte beats him to it. In a heart-stopping moment, Charlotte swoops in to shield Theo from the falling vase, her worries etched across her face. Heroically, she manages to save him, but in the process, the vase grazes her, leaving a bleeding cut. The sacrifice doesn't end there. As the room spins, Charlotte, on the brink of fainting, is caught in Carlyle's sturdy embrace. Summoning help, Carlyle swiftly commands a maid to dial the hospital. As Charlotte regains consciousness, her first sight is Theo's concerned gaze. With a reassuring smile, she assures him she's fine, soothing his worried heart. However, she clearly remembers that Carlyle held her hand for some time, confused as to why he did something like that. Perhaps he's trying to confirm her ability to calm his aching body. The following day unfolds with a touch of bittersweet creativity. Charlotte begins a whimsical farewell to her cherished maids, promising a return in half a year. With a nostalgic glance around the house, she strives to capture every detail before her departure, embracing the fleeting beauty of the moment. She then tenderly exchanges farewell with her parents, whose eyes glisten with tears as they watch their daughter prepare to leave the home they've shared. The ache of parting is softened by the understanding that they support her decision, even if they'll dearly miss their only daughter. Oh, she's surely loved in their home. I wonder how hard it is for her parents who don't have any choice but to let her go. As Charlotte turns away, tears stream down her face. Meeting with the Duke to depart, she's surprised to find the jewelry she once tried to sell. She further sobs in joy, thanking Carlyle for bringing it back to her. In the carriage, a mix of emotions is evident on her face. Alongside her is Theo, and she assures them both with a smile that they'll now be living together. She then vows to herself that no matter what happens, given how the life in the capital isn't as smooth as it is, she will definitely return to her home. Beneath a big dark sky, Charlotte's carriage quietly travels through the night, like a cozy bubble drifting through the quiet darkness. Charlotte looks out of the window while Theo peacefully sleeps in her lap. memories pop up of the strange timings when a flower pot fell on her head, coinciding with how he almost choked on his cookies while happily savoring it. No matter how coincidental it is, it still feels strange. Charlotte wonders why these strange things always happen around Theo. Could it be because he's a kid who wasn't supposed to survive and now destiny is playing tricks on him? Even in his sleep, Theo mumbles for Charlotte, making her promise to keep him safe. Oh, what a sweet little boy! Now, Charlotte is more determined to protect him. After all, he's just a kid and not Carlyle's wake-up call. Suddenly, the carriage stops and Carlyle says they've reached an undisclosed place. Gently waking Theo, Charlotte shares the news that they're home. But when Carlyle tries to take Theo, he surprises everyone by insisting on staying with Charlotte, leaving Carlyle in a state of confusion. It's so funny how he spent day and night searching for his little brother, and now Theo's clinging to a stranger he just met days ago. Moving on, in the middle of the forest, a magical circle appears. Carlyle offers his hand to Charlotte, and when she opens her eyes again, they're in Carlyle's and Theo's home, a place wrapped in the magic of the quiet night. With a determined face, Charlotte's ready to jump to the original novel. Theo then proudly shows Charlotte his room and gives her a teddy bear from his brother. Somehow, it's familiar to her, but she didn't put much thought into it. Suddenly, Ain, a magician, comes to heal Charlotte's injury with magic. She then pats Theo's head, making him happy that she's not hurt anymore. Just then, she remembers that in the original novel, Penelope condensed her power and turns it into a magic stone. And so, Charlotte asks Ain to help her learn how to control her mana to make a protective stone. Ain happily agrees, but asks for time to talk to the Duke. As much as they want to, they could start right away, but since Theo is sleeping, holding on to Charlotte, they decide to wait until he's in bed. To not wake Theo, Charlotte goes outside. Suddenly, Emma, a concerned maid, rushes to her, guiding her to a room prepared by the Heinst family. Dresses and jewelry fill the room, surprising both Charlotte and Emma. Emma is particularly enamored with the room, finding things she likes. However, something catches Charlotte's eye, and despite Emma, whether she's happy about it or not, it becomes evident that Charlotte seems burdened. For her, it's such a waste given that Penelope will introduce herself soon. Their relationship with Carlyle is just a contract, so Charlotte feels burdened about it, leading her to step outside for a moment. Charlotte seeks information about Carlyle from the butler, Robert, but he's occupied with Carlyle's assistant, Lord Chase. Still, she asks Robert to inform her if they'll be back at the mansion. Also, she expresses her desire to see the Saintess soon, hoping to uncover the cause of Theo's misfortunes. Expressing her wish for Theo's and the Duke's happiness, Charlotte surprises Robert. He assures her he'll make arrangements for her to meet the Saintess within a week. Suddenly, a lady named Irina Rayner approaches Charlotte, introducing herself and offering assistance to tour around the mansion. Irina manages the family on behalf of the vacant mistress, adding a new dynamic to the unfolding situation. She takes Charlotte on a tour, to which she curiously thinks about distinct interactions from those with Lord Chase. Irina senses Charlotte's thoughts, revealing that she and Chase are a married couple. You got me there for a moment. I thought she's going to be a wicked villain to our lovely Charlotte. The revelation shocks Charlotte, who hadn't imagined Irina's marital status. Irina in turn points out Charlotte's own unspoken marriage. The conversation shifts to Charlotte's meeting with Carlyle, and Irina, curious about the Duke's personality, offers to help Charlotte understand him better. In Carlyle's room, bloodied hands hint at a mysterious event. Chase proposes eliminating the last piece of evidence, but Carlyle dismisses the idea, stating the person knows nothing, so he won't care if he kills him or not. While contemplating in his chair, Chase reveals that there's a traitor among the employees. Otherwise, his destination wouldn't be exposed. Chase suggests asking for Charlotte's help, but Carlyle firmly says no. Even though Chase's opinion is reasonable, somehow he doesn't like putting her in danger that would greatly affect Theo's life at stake. Is that it, or is there more to it? It's too early to judge now, but what do you guys think? As soon as Chase leaves, Carlyle feels his body getting pretty exhausted, like a terrible headache that's been going on forever. However, he remembers holding hands with her can soothe the pain. As much as he wants to hold her hand, he thinks she must be asleep in her room by now. Still, he's concerned about Charlotte's well-being, so he heads to her room to check on her. Carlyle is about to know, but then he hears Emma going out from Charlotte's room. Emma wonders if there were any footsteps. Hiding, the Duke breathes a sigh of relief, feeling a bit nervous about facing Charlotte. On a rainy day, Theo curiously asks why everyone's wearing black. Charlotte comforts him, reminding him of the night they're saying goodbye to. Then, they go to the cemetery where Carlyle and everyone else are for the knight's funeral. Carlyle stands by the knight's coffin, soaking wet in the rain, and seemingly not too emotional. Since he was young, he was taught to hide emotions. That's why he's able to stand there like it's nothing. However, that is not the truth. Even Charlotte can tell that he looks so sad. I somehow feel bad for him. He's bottling it all inside with no one to talk to. Just then, Charlotte and Theo arrive, and Theo innocently asks if the knight is asleep. Ignorance is really bliss. Carlyle then advises Theo to say goodbye. Noticing Carlyle's lack of expression, Charlotte understands that he can't let out his emotions as easily as others do because no one wants to offer their sympathy too. He can't expect comfort from others if it isn't a command. Of course, he doesn't want that either. This time, Charlotte offers him her handkerchief, saying it's to shield from the hot sun, even though it's raining. Carlyle grabs Charlotte's hand where the handkerchief is, probably trying to soothe the lingering pain within himself. However, he's shocked to see a familiar pattern embroidered on the handkerchief, so he asks if she personally made it, to which she positively responds. Carlyle quickly leaves for his office, saying that he'll just wash it before returning the handkerchief. In his office, he immediately pulls out the drawer, only to find another handkerchief with the same design. The question is, if he got it from Charlotte, when did they meet? And why is he keeping it all this time? Days later, Theo and Charlotte share muffins. Charlotte thinks about why Carlyle took her handkerchief but didn't use it, though she decides not to dwell on it. When Theo asks about learning magic, Charlotte says he already had a session the day before. Theo happily remembers his magical lesson, and he praises himself as the best. Suddenly, a red-haired woman named Celine, Charlotte's escort, walks in. Celine brings a box of sweets to impress Theo and Charlotte. Even though Theo is a bit scared, Charlotte encourages him to thank Celine for the treats. Celine is getting fond of the little kid, who's obviously enchanted by his adorable side. Then, Celine mentions Theo's brother and suggests watching him training in the gym. At the gym, they watch Carlyle gracefully defeat his practice partner. Oh, God, as if the sun's not enough to set the temperature higher. It's so hot in here, guys. Carlyle notices Charlotte, wondering why she's around. God, the way he stares makes my knees wobble. Just kidding, guys. Theo excitedly waves at his brother, and Carlyle, wiping away his sweat, approaches them. Charlotte, taken by Carlyle's presence, wonders if his shoulders are as broad as ever. Carlyle just stands tall, his posture exuding confidence and strength. His eyes, deep and expressive, seem to hold a wealth of experiences. Beneath a well-defined brow, those eyes reveal a mix of determination and a hint of mystery. His hair, though messy as sweat trickles down, frames his face, adding a touch of sophistication to his overall appearance. Before she can even respond, Celine interrupts, asking if Charlotte is feeling hot, noticing her cheeks turning red. Charlotte denies it, claiming it's nothing unusual. I can't with Carlyle's smirk. What about my heart, sir? Carlyle then lifts Theo, and Theo expresses their wish to see Carlyle fencing. Carlyle suggests Charlotte to move into the shaded area to avoid the heat. Charlotte is flustered, and Celine playfully teases her about feeling hot. Then the fencing spectacle begins, captivating Charlotte as she watches from up close. Carlyle hands Theo a stick to mimic fencing, and he energetically swings it around. In a near slip, both Carlyle and Charlotte instinctively reach out, their hands accidentally brushing. Suddenly, a wooden sword hurtles toward Theo. In a quick reaction, Carlyle grabs Celine's swords to deflect the flying wooden sword. Charlotte, worried for Theo, suggests sending him to the Saint as promptly. Carlyle promptly arranges for a carriage to the temple. Along the journey, he questions Charlotte about the urgency. Charlotte, unable to reveal the true reason that in the original novel that Theo should have died, simply mentions her concern for Theo. Upon arriving at the temple, Charlotte becomes nervous. Inside, she is captivated by a glass pane depicting the goddess of destiny. One untangles the thread, the other weaves fate on the thread, and the other one who judges one's fate. Suddenly, a servant of the goddess Teresa introduces herself, catching Theo's fascination. He is even calling her Angel. So cute. However, as soon as Teresa glances at Charlotte, she can't believe what she sees. Charlotte, on the other hand, is rather confused about what she's referring to. Charlotte, feeling a weird vibe, asks Teresa if something's wrong. Teresa, trying to brush it off, says she's just mistaken, leaving Charlotte confused. Now focusing on little Theo, Teresa asks for his hands to give him a blessing. She kisses Theo's forehead and he suddenly dozes off, sleeping like a baby. Charlotte screams, but Teresa assures her that he's asleep and will be better when he wakes up. Carlyle, carrying the sleepy Theo, expresses his gratitude to Teresa. After that magical moment, Teresa insists Charlotte should get a blessing too. Asking for an audience alone in a room, Teresa's gentle expression turns into something more serious. She stares at Charlotte like she's trying to read her mind. In a mysterious tone, Teresa reveals that when she checked Theo earlier, she found out that his string of fate was almost cut, explaining as to why strange things always happen to the kid. Shocked, Charlotte asks if Theo's okay. Teresa explains more about the magical threads and how she strengthens it with the blessing of the goddess, making Charlotte feel a bit better. But the conversation takes a strange turn. Teresa, seeming like she knows some cosmic secrets, asks Charlotte about why she's in their world. At this point, Teresa knows that Charlotte's string was also cut off and reconnected to another string with a different color. Also, the present Charlotte isn't the original one, and the original soul now ascends to the goddess. Charlotte has no other choice but to tell the truth. 3 years ago, she died in a traffic accident that happened in another dimension. She lost consciousness after the car hit her, but when she woke up, she was already in this world. Perhaps the real Charlotte also entered her life at the same time. After telling her story, Charlotte thinks she won't believe it, but Teresa assures her it's their little secret. Turns out, Teresa just got curious as to why she shows up in their world, but maybe the goddess has another reason for it. As a sign of trust, Teresa gives Charlotte a blessing with a gentle kiss on her hand, also making her string stronger. However, Teresa warns her to be careful because her string of fate is made up of 2 strings. She'll never know when the 2 strings will split. Does this mean her death? Shock and fear dawn on Charlotte, but as she opens the door wider, Teresa disappears without a trace like a mysterious fog. Back in the carriage, Carlyle warns Charlotte to stay put because there's trouble. Not knowing how to calm herself while also comforting the child, Charlotte shakingly sings a children's song, all while her body shivers in fear. Oh God, why does this always happen to them? After some time, Carlyle manages to protect them from danger and safely takes them home. When Emma asks if Charlotte's okay, out of the blue, she collapses. Charlotte lies on her bed, trapped in a nightmare, desperately calling for help in her sleep. Carlyle rushes to her side, comforting her by gently holding her hand. This simple gesture brings solace to Charlotte, who gradually eases into a more restful sleep. Carlyle, concerned about the cause of Charlotte's distress, reflects about all the recent events which are too much for her. Returning to his office, Carlyle summons his trusted aides, Celine and Chase, to discuss the recent raid. Carlyle identifies 3 maids: Jessie, who works in the kitchen, Ellie, employed in the laundry room, and Hazel, a lady's maid, as potential spies who keep feeding information to the trained assassins who raided the carriage and Theo. What could be in this innocent child that all these assassins want? He then orders further investigation into these 3, suspecting their involvement in the recent disturbances. Despite Chase's suggestion to involve Charlotte in their affairs, Carlyle insists on keeping her out of harm's way. He emphasizes that, regardless of the situation, Charlotte should not be entangled in their covert operations. He's rather concerned. How did the heartless Duke turn out this way? As the meeting concludes, Celine contemplates the difficulty of spying on the maids. Charlotte, sensing something is amiss, approaches Celine. In a quiet corridor, Charlotte proposes a walk outside in the sunny weather with Theo. Celine offers assistance in order to protect her, all while observing the potential servants in the hall. Upon reaching Charlotte's room, Charlotte discloses her suspicion about the 3 maids. Celine initially denies it, but Charlotte, perceptive and determined, coaxes the truth from her. Celine is too stunned to deny it any longer. She clearly didn't expect Charlotte to be this smart. Understanding the intricacy of the situation, Charlotte expresses her willingness to help uncover the spies. Charlotte acknowledges Carlyle's hesitancy in sharing such matters with her, realizing they aren't yet close enough for him to fully trust her. Celine, on Carlyle's behalf, emphasizes his concern for Charlotte's safety. Even for a professional assassin like her, she can still sense something romantic going on. How cute. Determined, Charlotte vows to keep the revelation a secret. Celine acknowledges that Carlyle would be displeased if he knew Charlotte was privy to such information. Charlotte, showing resilience, assures Celine that she won't betray the trust. Celine, seeking assistance, proposes involving Emma as a spy. In order to learn the world of servants, one must be used. Following Charlotte's lead, Emma innocently asks Ellie for a favor. Emma, craftily executing her role, approaches Ellie in the laundry room and points out a stain on Charlotte's dress. She informs Ellie that Charlotte plans to visit Legis Street with Theo and requests her to wash the dress promptly. Ellie, confident and willing, assures Emma that she'll handle it with care. Before leaving, Emma emphasizes the need for secrecy, as the outing is meant to be a surprise. Moving on to the kitchen, Emma finds Jessie and assigns her the task of preparing a meal box for Charlotte. Emma explains that it's a surprise for the Duke, and Jessie, skilled in the culinary arts, promises to whip up a delightful meal in no time. As with Ellie, Emma urges Jessie not to share the news with anyone. In the pursuit of completing the surprise, Charlotte engages with Hazel, seeking advice on where to buy clothes for the Duke. Hazel recommends a store on Ruchez Street and gladly agrees to keep the surprise under wraps. Once Hazel leaves, Emma converses with Charlotte, who commends her for her dedicated efforts. Emma expresses concern about the risks involved, but Charlotte reassures her, confident that Ain will lend assistance if needed. To divert attention and ensure their safety, Charlotte employs a clever tactic, creating a decoy of Theo using a teddy bear wrapped in cloth. With the help of Ain's magic, Charlotte ventures out with the decoy, awaiting the assassin's moves. When Charlotte is transported back to the mansion, Theo greets her with a warm hug. Charlotte is confident to successfully complete the first phase of their plan. Now, they await news about the 3 carriages that have been dispatched to different locations. Turns out, she's not someone to mess with. As anticipated, the first carriage falls victim to a raid by spies, but the well-coordinated efforts of the knights foil their plans. Celine promptly reports the successful counteraction to Carlyle, who, intrigued, inquires about the information gathered from the captured spies. The discovery of the traitor among the maids sends shockwaves through Carlyle's household, as Ellie is revealed as the culprit, driven by the need to support her ailing siblings. It's always those who are desperate to support their loved ones. Why can't people just help without letting them do such grievous things? Still, Carlyle seeks to unravel the deeper layers of this conspiracy, turning to Celine for information. Celine notices a distinctive pattern on the assassin's body, a mark resembling the poisonous plant known as the Hisan's flower. Carlyle, recognizing the mark as belonging to the notorious Deros Guild, understands that their involvement goes beyond mere theft to include assassination. Determined to confront the source of this threat, Carlyle instructs Celine to lead an immediate expedition to the Deros Guild's base. Upon arrival, the Duke and Celine set fire to the Guild's stronghold, a brutal but necessary move to dismantle the threat. Despite their attempts to extract information from the leader of the Guild, he remains tight-lipped, refusing to disclose the identity of the mastermind behind the attacks. In a defiant act, the assassin points out how Carlyle keeps holding grudges before he faces his death. Returning with documents seized from the base, Celine discloses to Carlyle that Charlotte is aware of the situation. Anxious about Charlotte's safety, Carlyle rushes to the mansion and to her room. Before he can knock, Charlotte opens the door, surprised at the Duke's presence. He notices a bloodstain on his wrist, so he hastily conceals it behind his back. He then confronts her about the plan to interfere with the carriage, a revelation supposedly disclosed by Celine. Bewildered, Charlotte denies any involvement, expressing astonishment at Celine's statements. Carlyle, deeply concerned for her safety, emphasizes the potential consequences of failure and inquires about Theo's welfare. Charlotte, realizing her oversight, apologizes, pledging to be more cautious moving forward. Carlyle, sighing in understanding, acknowledges the gravity of the situation. In an attempt to make amends, Carlyle asks how he can repay her for the inconvenience. Without hesitation, Charlotte requests access to Carlyle's personal reading room. The following day, she ventures into the designated space, discovering a specific book. However, upon opening it, she didn't anticipate the contents inside. She can't read a single thing! Charlotte finds herself asking for Sir Ain's assistance when she cannot read the book written in the ancient language. However, Ain refuses to translate it for her. Since the book belongs to the Duke's personal reading room, he cannot simply divulge its contents. Still persistent as ever, she asks how she may be able to read it. Aside from Ain, Duke Carlyle himself is able to read the ancient language after being taught from a young age. The only way for her to know its contents would be to ask the Duke to read it to her. Okay, I'm starting to like where this is going. Mouth agape, she is astounded at the idea, but before she can press further, Theo arrives and interrupts her and Ain. As Charlotte practices her magic, she senses the mana emanating from within her. However, she is not able to completely wield it. Sensing Charlotte's distress, Theo places a hand on her stomach. Suddenly, Theo wields the surrounding magic almost as if it were the easiest feat. Ain encourages her not to lose hope, for she too will be able to sense the mana more clearly in the future. Later that night, Charlotte intercepts Carlyle as he arrives. He's the only person who could tell her of the book's contents. She really is serious about getting the book translated. Hearing her, Carlyle admits that he knew the book was written in an ancient language. Leading her into the reading room, he agrees to read the book to her. As he reads through the book, Charlotte's interest falls on the symbol of the Rosetto. She remarks that it is the same symbol that adorns Theo's body. At this point, both shift their conversation to Theo's magical abilities. Being born as a Rosetto, Theo has always been able to activate his mana even before turning a year old. As their conversation progresses, Charlotte's interest shifts to finding a book related to the Destined One. However, being alone with Carlyle in the library means that she has difficulty focusing. Girl, I can't blame you, just look at him! But she loses her focus even more when he suddenly appears closely behind her. Carlyle appears behind Charlotte in close proximity. Face to face with each other, Charlotte blushes and closes her eyes at how close he is getting. But suddenly, her nervousness is dispelled when all he does is reach for a book behind her. Oh, come on! The romantic suspense was almost at its peak! Grabbing the book, Carlyle brings it back to their table where he reads its contents to Charlotte. He begins by telling her all about the Destined One. It turns out that the Destined One is a person who overcame death. Once this happens, the person's body changes wherein it is capable of suppressing mana. Without thinking much of it, he brings up Charlotte's terrible fever 3 years ago. He deduces that perhaps she became the Destined One after her life-threatening experience. She ponders his words carefully. As soon as she became the Destined One, Theo had managed to arrive at Rania Manor. Could this all be a coincidence, or is fate playing a game on all of them? Ceasing their reading, Carlyle hovers his arm for Charlotte to take as they make their way back to their separate quarters. As they walk hands in hand, she wonders if it was also inevitable for her to have met Carlyle. The next morning, Charlotte and Theo spend time with Irina and her son Danny. While both children eat, she remembers an earlier conversation with Celine. Celine informs her that the people behind the recent attacks threatening Theo's life is Deiros, a guild of mercenaries harboring a grudge against the Heinst family. Geez, don't they have a conscience to target a child just because of a grudge? Seeing the worried look on Charlotte's face, Celine reassures her that the threat has been dealt with accordingly. Additionally, Celine mentions that Carlyle worries for Charlotte, especially if she might be put in danger because of her attempts at being involved in the matter. He really does care a great deal for her. Their conversation is cut short without even getting to inquire more about Celine's last statement. As everyone begins to eat, she notices Theo developing a picky attitude toward his food. How could he throw away food so easily like that? Even if they are dislikable vegetables, it's still not a reason to easily cast them away. Suddenly, an idea springs to her mind. She will teach Theo a lesson, and what better way to do it than letting Theo grow his own vegetables? Robert, the butler, listens to Charlotte's idea of immersing Theo in farming experiences. However, with such a rigorous task like that, he advises her to wait for Carlyle's approval. But with Carlyle's busy schedule lately, it would be difficult to meet him freely. Charlotte doesn't let this dampen her spirit, so she eagerly awaits his return. As the day grows later and later, she realizes that the sun is about to rise, but he still hasn't returned. Fortunately, as if the world heard her pleas, Robert comes in to inform her that the Duke has recently just returned. She doesn't want to delay anything, so she hurriedly makes her way to the Duke's workspace to ask him about her idea. When she knocks, Carlyle is surprised to see her. I mean, I'd be surprised too. It's already late after all. Charlotte finds the atmosphere extremely awkward as they sit across from each other. There's something about the deafening silence that makes her uncomfortable. Or maybe it's his piercing gaze that's boring right through her? I would start melting like an ice cream if he stared at me like that. Carlyle is first to break the ice. However, when Charlotte looks around and sees his workspace swamped with papers, she decides to delay her sharing for a little while. She realizes that he must have been too busy with all this piled up on his plate. Did he even have time to eat? Out of the blue, she shares that she is hungry and she invites Carlyle to have a meal with her despite the late hour. Hearing this, he complies and asks Robert to prepare something simple for them. While waiting for their food, she brings up her idea of immersing Theo in farming. Aside from it being fun, it will teach Theo values and hopefully will dispel his pickiness of food. Pondering on her suggestion, Carlyle doesn't have any problems with it, so he agrees at once. Anything for her, of course. He even supports it so much to the extent that he will let the gardeners prepare for her plan as well. Just as they finish their talk, Robert arrives with their meal. The two eat in silence, with Charlotte feigning hunger the entire time. When she finishes, she bids him a good night and leaves him to his work. Carlyle isn't an oblivious person, so when Charlotte leaves a hefty portion of food on her plate, he quickly realizes that she staged this entire dinner, just so she can make sure he was eating well despite his business. Looking at the now empty room, he acknowledges that just moments earlier he had been happy. But all of a sudden when she's gone, it feels empty. Since when had he been feeling this way? It's so obvious he's starting to like her. At the crack of dawn, Charlotte awakes to the sound of her room door opening. She is shocked when Theo suddenly bounces on her with excitement. Despite the early hour, his surge of energy for farming is already at its peak. I really love how enthusiastic of a child Theo is. He's so cute. Trying to calm him down a bit, she offers to wait it out, to sleep with her for the time being. As soon as the sun would rise, then they'd go farming. That morning, Theo and Charlotte immediately make their way to the garden. When he steps foot in the garden, he quickly inspects the seeds they had planted a day before. To his surprise, the seedlings actually grew overnight. Seeing his happy smile, Charlotte decides that her and the gardener's efforts were worth it. Turns out, the day they planted the seeds, Charlotte had asked the gardeners a favor. She knew that Theo was too excited and that perhaps he'd be sad to know that seeds don't grow overnight. Thanks to the gardeners who replaced each seed with a seedling during the night, Theo is able to showcase a smile on his face upon seeing the little seedlings. That must have taken a lot of effort to replace each seed. Later that afternoon, Carlyle comes to the garden searching for Theo. When he finds him eating tomatoes with Charlotte, the sight before him reminds him of a distant memory. Long ago, his mother used to roam the garden carrying a baby, Theo. Back then, having his mother doting on Theo was some of the most peaceful days he'd had. Things had not been the same ever since she passed. For some reason, it was almost as if spring had died away with their mother. I can't imagine how much he must have grieved for her. But just when he thinks he will never see spring again, Charlotte comes into view. As Theo runs to him and offers to give him fresh tomatoes, all he can focus on is her. Looking at her, he feels happy but lonely at the same time. He moves closer to Charlotte and caresses her hair with his fingertips. She looks at him with wide eyes, but all he can think about is wanting to hold her tight so that she won't go away. Not now, not ever. Ants are surely coming after Carlyle because of how sweet he is. Relationship progress, y'all! A surge of blush can't help but make its way to Charlotte's cheeks as Carlyle keeps holding onto her hair. Once more, she calls his name to gain his attention. Hearing her, he snaps out of his current state. He steps away and uses a leaf attached to her hair as an excuse. This Duke sure can be lame. As he leaves the garden, Charlotte takes a moment to recover from that breath-hitching moment. How could such a wholesome and romantic interaction vanish in the span of seconds? At dinner, Theo proudly shares the peas he grew. It seems that immersing Theo in farming really did help him overcome being picky. While everyone dines, Charlotte can't help but wonder how the Duke found the time to eat with Theo. Could it be that he actually listened to her words the night before when she suggested that he eat with his brother more often? Pushing back these thoughts, she shakes her head. There's no way he would listen to her, right? He's probably doing all this for Theo's sake. Charlotte, if only you knew how he really felt. When dinner ends, Carlyle excuses himself early so that he may attend to work matters. But it seems that Charlotte is stopping him. Grabbing his hand with so much urgency, this gives her Carlyle's undivided attention. The way she grabbed him was almost as if she didn't want him to leave. Not knowing why she did it in the first place, she tries to ease the situation by giving him a heads up about tomorrow's menu. Back in her room later that night, she receives a letter from her brother Isaac. It takes her a while to open the letter out of anxiety about its contents. What could her brothers have written to her? Reading the letter, she finds that her brothers are in turmoil at her situation. Although they are proud of how she was quick to handle the conflicts while they were away, they still couldn't wrap their heads around her engagement. Ah, yes, typical brothers being protective of their little sister. How cute. Continuing further, she reads that her brothers want to meet with her at a cafe downtown. Had the circumstances been different, she wouldn't hesitate to meet with her brothers. However, she has to look after herself now so she's not to endanger Theo as well. With determined resolve, Charlotte writes back to Isaac that she's not going to their meeting place. However, it will be them who will go to her at Heinst's mansion. The following day, two blue-haired men set foot on the Heinst mansion. The Rania brothers have arrived to meet their sister. The Rania brothers, Isaac and Jake, appear to be calm and composed individuals. But looks and reality really do fool people because suddenly, Jake is making a commotion at the mansion. Screaming his lungs out, he truly believes that Charlotte is being held against her will. When Isaac has enough of him, he asks Jake to calm down. Just in time, Charlotte walks out to greet her brothers before Jake can make a bigger scene. Inside, Jake continues raging about his sister's engagement. If he could call his sister foolish in all its synonyms, he probably would have done so by now. LOL, he's so mad at her! When Jake reminds her of her age, Charlotte doesn't back down. She reminds him that it isn't unusual for ladies her age to get engaged. Hearing this, the two begin to squabble. This is why brothers and sisters are like cats and dogs. Theo approaches the trio to come into Charlotte's defense. As Theo tries to get Jake to stop yelling at Charlotte, it seems he gets caught up squabbling with him instead. Finally, Isaac intervenes and hands Theo a box of expensive chocolates. Only then does Theo agree when Charlotte asked him to stay with Emma for a while. Alone with her siblings once more, she begins to explain to her brothers how she and Carlyle first met. Although unbeknownst to them, she is actually recounting a story of how she and a stranger met one fateful day. It was a rainy day at the Capitol during the national founding ceremony. With her brothers being knights, it was inevitable that Charlotte was left alone sometimes. While she was separated from her brothers, she took shelter from the rain inside a gift shop where a kind lady offered for her to come in. Shortly after, a man who wears a hood came to the store. According to him, he sought a gift for his younger brother who was a year old. Helpful as ever, she assisted him in picking out the right gift. Eventually, she settled on a cute brown teddy bear and offered it to the man. With no questions asked, the man took and paid for it. But when he left, she found herself running after him in the pouring rain. The sky was still gloomy as the rain continued to pour, but still, she persisted in running after the man. When she caught up with him, she quickly offered her handkerchief. She hoped that the handkerchief would help wipe away the rainwater. Looking back and forth between Charlotte and the handkerchief, the man finally took it from her. With one last wholehearted attempt, she told him that everything will be okay. As she saw the man leaving, she pondered on the words she truly wanted to tell him. She couldn't be sure, but it felt like he was holding back tears. She wanted to cheer him up and tell him to cry it out. But then again, how could she, a stranger, offer comfort to someone she barely knew? Ending her walk down memory lane, she snaps herself back to reality with her brothers. Despite her recounting how she and the Duke met, Jake doesn't believe a single bit of it as he continued to rage. I get that he's protective over her, but if he only saw how much the Duke treated Charlotte right. Finally, having had enough of Jake, she asserts herself and admits that she truly does like the Duke. This makes Jake pause from his fit. Hearing this, Isaac gets up and acknowledges what his sister just said. At the end of the day, it is Charlotte's choice to stay, but in the event that she wishes to return to her family, they'll gladly welcome her back. As her brothers motion to leave, Isaac mentions that they'll be seeing each other soon for the upcoming Kung Fu competition. The following day, Irina and Charlotte spend time at the greenhouse as Theo and Danny play with the plants. Inquisitive as ever, Irina asks why she's embroidering all of a sudden. Charlotte heartily responds that she's embroidering handkerchiefs as gifts for her brothers during the Kung Fu competition. How sweet of Charlotte to do that! Hearing this, Irina also inquires if she is making one for the Duke. Considering the Duke isn't taking part in the competition, Charlotte didn't think she would need to give him one. When their topic shifts to the coming of the competition, she tells Irina that she won't be going. She has to stay with Theo and watch over him. Bringing him to the competition would be unthinkable too. After all, she can't be too sure that all the threats endangering him are eliminated. Oh no. I can't imagine how many accidents could happen if Theo were to be out on such a big event. Always being persistent, Irina tells Charlotte she'll help. Soon enough that evening, she finds herself dining privately with Carlyle next to her and Irina across from them. What on earth is Irina up to? It's been a long time since Carlyle has dined with Irina. Naturally, he's curious if there's a reason for it. As soon as they begin to eat, Irina asks the Duke about his plans for the founding ceremony. He answers that he plans to drop by to encourage the knights and that's it. Afterward, he would go back to review more paperwork. Hearing this, Irina reacts abruptly. How could he tend to work during such a festival? For sure his fiancée would be lonely. She openly suggests to Carlyle that he should be spending time with Charlotte since this is the first Founders' Day they'll be spending together since they reunited. As Charlotte listens to Irina, she tries to reassure her that she'll be fine. However, she is taken aback when she hears Carlyle agreeing to Irina's suggestions. Yes! Now that's our Duke right there! Don't let her be lonely! Satisfied with her efforts, Irina considers her job done, seeing as how she managed to get the Duke to spend time with his fiancée. As the two women walk in the hallways, they are interrupted by a blue-haired maid, Hazel, who takes great interest in the pattern on Charlotte's handkerchief. She tells her that she's seen the exact same pattern on a handkerchief the Duke had been treasuring since a long time ago. He even made sure that Annie, his attending maid, would wash the handkerchief carefully. Could it be the same handkerchief that she gave the hooded man 2 years ago? Before matters could escalate, Irina stops Hazel in her tracks. After all, she doesn't want Charlotte to get hurt if the Duke had been keeping another woman's handkerchief all along. Shortly after, Irina barges into Carlyle's office and begins to berate him for treasuring another woman's handkerchief all this time. Had she not heard it from Charlotte and Hazel, she would have been unaware of the matter. Shocked, Carlyle asks how she and Charlotte could have possibly known about the handkerchief. Storming out, Irina can't believe Carlyle was entertaining another woman 2 years ago. As she leaves, she yells that she will never help him if Charlotte decides to break off their engagement. The following day, Charlotte and Theo ready themselves to go out and watch the fireworks. Unexpectedly, despite his busy schedule, Carlyle is also coming along. As they head out to the festival and fireworks, Charlotte wonders if their outing today will bring any changes for her and Carlyle. It should, though. After all, spending time together would bring them closer. In the midst of a busy town, Carlyle, together with Charlotte and Theodore, are having a great time enjoying themselves. Smiles are painted on their faces, especially on the young Theodore, who seems to be fascinated with all these things. However, despite the happiness that they're feeling, there seems to be something that's bugging Charlotte. She still questions herself if the man she met 2 years ago was really Carlyle. She still can't be sure because that man was wearing a hood. But instead of thinking too much about it, she forced herself to enjoy their time together. They enter the store that Theo pointed at, and she meets a very familiar lady. The lady seems to be very happy to see her, but then her face suddenly goes sour the very moment she sees Carlyle and Theo. She asks Charlotte if she's married to him, which Charlotte denies. In the middle of the conversation, a commotion happens. Someone got pickpocketed and the thief's on the run. Carlyle instantly excuses himself and dashes to get the thief. The lady offers Charlotte and Theo to stay in the store for a while they're waiting for Carlyle. There, the two of them start talking, and the lady asks about her relationship with Carlyle, to which she said that he's just someone she knows and that she's taking care of Theo since he seems to be so fond of her. Charlotte also shares that she's planning to go to Barony of Rania, but the lady seems to be so shocked about it that she tries to stop her from going. She says that the man who purchased a teddy bear from Charlotte came back to the store last winter looking for her, but the lady told him that she didn't see Charlotte. Charlotte asked her if she knew anything about him, but the lady shook her head. She tries to ask the man, but he leaves without answering her. The man seems suspicious of the lady. 2 years ago, she thought that he was wearing a hood because it was raining, but the second time he came back, his face was covered as well. In the middle of their conversation, Carlyle arrives, so Charlotte immediately informs Theo that it's time for them to go. She thanked the lady, but before she can even go, the lady asks if she's interested in meeting her son, but Carlyle suddenly told her that it won't happen because they're engaged. The lady is in shock. She completely thought that Charlotte is single since she said that he's just someone she knows. While walking, Charlotte can't help but get upset with Carlyle because of what he did. But what can she do? It already happened, and Carlyle felt like it was necessary for him to say. They then sit on the grass while looking at the bright stars as they're waiting for the fireworks. Charlotte's looking at Theo, who's peacefully waiting. He's the one who's so excited to see the fireworks, but he fell asleep. Suddenly, the beautiful fireworks display starts. Charlotte's eyes are full of amazement looking at it. Carlyle faces her and hands her a handkerchief, and though surprised, her suspicions are all true. The man whom she met 2 years ago is right in front of her. It's Carlyle! The sky was dark and gloomy, like it was going to rain any minute. That day, an inexplicable, ominous feeling was filling Carlyle with dread. how come a sad premonition is never wrong? It seems like he ran out of mana because he couldn't take the news he just heard. His mother wouldn't make it past that fall. This made him think about Theo. It felt like he was being crushed. Theo's just an infant who couldn't even utter the word mama yet. How was he supposed to explain the goodbyes to him? The thought of Theo somehow made him walk into a toy store, and there he saw Charlotte, whose face was full of happiness. Her soft, friendly voice seemed to possess a strange power, a power that made him open his mouth without realizing it like magic. The moment he exits the store, Charlotte calls him and offers him a handkerchief, telling him that it will all be okay soon. It felt strange for him when she uttered those words. It was as if his turbulent heart and mind immediately felt at peace. In that handkerchief, he felt the warmth of the person who handed it to him. She stood in the rain to comfort him when she didn't even know him, and with that, he thought that she's such a strong and kind woman. Under the beautiful fireworks, Carlyle softly looks at her in the eyes as he confesses that when she handed him her handkerchief at the funeral, Carlyle realized that Charlotte is the woman that he met 2 years ago, and he's been longing to see her. Charlotte's cheeks turn red as she confesses that she also thought of him on rainy days, and that she wanted to see him again as well. Carlyle's eyes widened when she said that, while the fireworks lit up the whole sky with a loud bang, and a sound that resembled an exploding flame echoed inside him. At that moment, he strongly sensed that a world completely different from what he had known about was about to unfold. Sitting on a chair in the garden, a pink-haired woman suddenly goes to Charlotte, asking if she did enjoy the festival. There's a hint of a malicious smile on her face, as if she's teasing Charlotte that what she experienced seems to be the honeymoon phase, which made Charlotte's face turn red. Suddenly, Theo and Danny run towards them. Danny immediately hugs the pink-haired woman, revealed to be his mom. Theo sees this, which makes him gloomy. It's as if he's jealous and wants to be with his mom. He sprints towards Charlotte and hugs her instead. While tucking Theo to bed, Charlotte notices that he's not in his very nice mood, so she offers to read him some stories before he sleeps. However, the story is about a mommy rabbit and a baby rabbit, which made Theo cry so hard. At first, she thinks that it's because of the story, but then Theo looks at her and asks why Danny has a mommy and he has none. Why can't Charlotte just be his mommy? With a heavy heart, she looks at Theo and asks if he wants to see his mommy. Poor baby, he only wants to experience the love of a mom. In front of the family portrait, Charlotte looks at Theo and tells him that the woman with blonde hair in the picture is his mom. Theo is surprised. This is the very first time he sees that portrait. He looks at Charlotte, wondering where his mom is now, and Charlotte explains that when he was still a baby, he had to say goodbye to his mother. He may not see his mommy now, but she loves him very much. Theo's eyes watered as he hugs Charlotte and cries. Looking at the portrait, Charlotte wonders why there's a huge space beside Carlyle's seat. She tries to touch it, and a beam of light appears, and all of a sudden, a boy who looks exactly like Carlyle appears beside him in the portrait. Suddenly, Theo says that the pendant the boy is wearing is the exact pendant that Carlyle gave him. Charlotte looks at Theo's pendant. Edgar Heinst is written on there. She remembers who that person is. He's Carlyle's twin who died 16 years ago. While tucking Theo to bed, he suddenly looks at Charlotte with a smile on his face, telling her that he's not sad about not seeing his mommy anymore. Instead, he's happy now because he has both Charlotte and Carlyle. In the hallway, Charlotte can't stop thinking about the boy in the portrait. He was definitely Edgar Heinst. In the novel, Edgar Heinst died when he was young. It was because Marquess Patreon mistakenly thought Edgar was Carlyle. The Marquess wanted to kill Carlyle because he was a Rosetto, but ended up killing Edgar by mistake. When the truth of the incident was revealed, House Patreon was destroyed. But the real problem was Carlyle, who managed to escape death. He knew that Edgar died because of him. The guilt and sadness he felt made his mana run wild. In order to save him, the former Duke and Duchess chose to erase his memory, so that he couldn't remember that he was a Rosetto or that Edgar died. The story of Edgar isn't something that Charlotte should get involved with, but there's something about the portrait that she should tell him. She can't be a bystander anymore. Carlyle has been honest with her, and she should too. She can't be his real fiancé, but she can be his friend. Inside the room, Carlyle's looking at Charlotte, who is sitting in front of him. He wonders what she wants to talk about during this late hour. Finally, she looks at him and tells him that she showed Theo the portrait. Theo missed his mother dearly, and she only wanted to show it to the boy for him to be happy. There's a hint of silence. Charlotte completely thought that Carlyle was going to be frantic about that, but instead he just asks her if Theo liked it, which he really did. As she gets up, she lets him know that Theo missed his mother a lot. But before she can leave, Carlyle thanked her for taking such good care of Theo. As she exits his room, she still can't tell everything that he should know, like about his twin brother Edgar. She knows that hiding it will make things worse, but she doesn't think she'll ever be able to say it. In Theo's bedroom, Carlyle's looking at his sleeping face, thinking about what Charlotte just said. Theo missed his mom, and Carlyle didn't tell him about it because he didn't want him to get hurt. But it turns out that that's just an excuse. He was avoiding it because he didn't have the courage. He was being a coward. All of a sudden, Theo wakes up. Carlyle apologizes for waking him up, but Theo gives him a smile, saying that it's all right since he wasn't able to see him during dinner. They talk about how Theo sees their mother and if he missed him, in which he did, but Theo thinks that he's all right now because he has Carlyle and Charlotte. With his affinity for the two in mind, Theo looks at Carlyle asking if they're going to live together for a long time. Carlyle is taken aback, but then smiles and pats Theo's head, telling him that the three of them are going to live together. After giving that silly answer to Theo, he thought that maybe all the things that he told him are the things that he wishes for himself. Maybe he is hoping that the woman who handed him the handkerchief would warmly embrace his and Theo's loneliness. The next morning, the butler introduces someone to Charlotte. It was Rolando, the mage of the house Heinst. He's the one who sealed Carlyle's mana and erased his memories. He asks Charlotte for help regarding Theo since he has to check his mana. They walk towards the sofa, though Charlotte has a bad feeling about this. In the novel, Rolando seems to be loyal towards Carlyle. Theo's still afraid of him and refuses to hand his hands to Rolando, but when Rolando mentions chocolate, Theo immediately cooperates. Suddenly, there's a huge flow of energy. Charlotte can even feel it inside her. Is it because she saved Theo? All of a sudden, Rolando grabs her hands, making Charlotte scared and confused of what he's doing. Is he putting a spell on her? Oh, is he really a character to be trusted or not? Charlotte feels a warm energy flowing inside her as she grabs her arms away from Rolando. Suddenly, the butler shows up, asking her what she saw inside the portrait room. She knows that they are testing her because she saw something she shouldn't have. She looks at them and smiles, saying that she saw the portrait of the late Duke and his wife as well as Carlyle. They tried to ask if she saw something more, but then she looks at them and acts as if she knows nothing. In the end, both of them left. She turns around to wake Theo up, and when he does, she tries to ask if he saw someone beside Carlyle in the portrait. But strangely, he doesn't remember. But how come she does? Could it be because of the energy she felt inside of her? She should ask another mage about it. Inside the room, Charlotte is talking to a mage about the magic that she's been feeling, and that it must be a nullification magic. So the mage tries to get her to nullify the fire, and Charlotte tries to feel the energy within her, and puts her hand on the fire, but it does nothing. This disappoints her, but the mage laughs it out, telling her that they should just practice it. During dinner, Charlotte seems to be in a bad mood, enough that Theo and Carlyle notice this too. So Theo looks at her and asks her to go with him and Carlyle to look at the portrait in hopes that it will lift her mood. But Charlotte's worried that Carlyle might not yet be ready to confront his mother, though it surprised her that he agrees to it. However, when they entered the room, Carlyle remains standing by the door. He seems unready to see the portrait, so she walks at him and tells him not to rush it if he's not yet ready. Some wounds take a while to heal, and rushing the healing might make it worse. So she assures him that he doesn't have to force himself to heal or act brave. It genuinely worries her that it might get worse. Suddenly, Carlyle looks closely at her, and right now there seems to be only an inch of gap in their faces. He stares at her softly in the eyes as he tells her that he'll be okay, as long as she's beside him. Seeing Carlyle walk towards Theo to look at the portrait somehow warms her heart. This is a meeting that she thought would never happen. He may have been smiling faintly, but it already shows that the wound in his heart is healing little by little. He seems relieved. It's as if he realized that his efforts to forget his mother up until now were pointless, but he seems happy to see members of the family that he has forgotten. But someone is still left on the other side of his memories. That person still sits on the other side, alone and forgotten, just like he has all this time. And that person is none other than poor Edgar, dead, all alone and completely forgotten. Ordinary days pass by. Charlotte practiced the nullification magic with Sir Ein the mage, without much success. Sir Ein told her to wish for it earnestly, but it was hard to grasp. Meanwhile, after the past few days, Theo went to see the portrait every day. Regardless, Robert continues to keep an eye on Charlotte. It looked like he was checking to see if she remembers anything. The days were peaceful, but there was tension in the air, and soon, the martial arts competition is around the corner. In the living room, Jake's grumbling in front of Charlotte, wanting her to attend their martial arts competition. Isaac agrees too, that it's better for her to go. At first, Her mind is set that she wouldn't be attending, but as soon as she hears that the priestess Therese will be there, she immediately agrees to go. She has to ask the priestess to help her with her magic. At dinner time, Carlyle notices Charlotte's discomfort. It was as if she had something to say to him, so he never asked her about it. Suddenly, she hands him an embroidered handkerchief, saying that even though he won't be participating in the competition, she still made him one. Carlyle appreciates what she gave him and thanks her for it. Suddenly, Charlotte opens up about asking Carlyle a favor if she can watch her brother's competition. She wants to go, but she's a bit worried for Theo. What if someone will harm him or if he'll get lost? Carlyle looks at her and tells her that she has nothing to be worried about. He will protect the both of them. She doesn't notice it, but she's completely acting like Theo's mother. How sweet. The day of the competition arrives and Theo's face is full of happiness seeing the crowd. He seems to be enjoying it, along with all of the people inside the arena. Looking at Theo and Charlotte, Carlyle feels a hint of happiness too, seeing the two of them enjoying themselves, especially Theo. However, as he's looking at the crowd, he sees a strange man wearing a hood wandering in the crowd. As they are watching the match, Charlotte notices Carlyle's discomfort. It's already Isaac's match when all of a sudden, Carlyle touches her shoulder, telling her to go to a safe place with Dame Celine. Just when they're about to head out, an explosion happens. All of the people inside are panicking as they run towards the exit. Theo looks so scared too, his eyes watering as he hugs Charlotte. Why is there an explosion? What is happening? They immediately run towards the door, but Celine can't open it, even with magic. Sir Ein tries to open it too, but he couldn't. It seems like the one who put a spell on it is much stronger than him. Carlyle has no other choice but to ask Sir Ein to use his teleportation magic, but it can only transport 2 people. Given that Sir Ein, together with Charlotte, Carlyle, and Theo, is 4 people, it will be hard. Carlyle asks to be left, so he says his goodbyes to Charlotte, making her think as if that will be the very last time they'll see each other. Suddenly, the moment the spell starts, she hands Theo to Sir Ein and the both of them disappear. Carlyle is surprised and a bit pissed as he wanted her to go with them. But Charlotte doesn't want to leave him, and saving Theo is more important. But then Carlyle looks at her and shouts that she's important for him too, so he'll do everything to protect her too. In spite of the moment, this could have been pretty sweet and romantic, but alas! All of a sudden, a huge flame of fire is heading towards the two of them, so Carlyle hugs her, trying to protect her from it. The moment she looks at him, Charlotte sees that he's very hurt, and there is blood on his forehead already. The guards around them are already on the ground, hurt from the sudden attack. Charlotte knows that she has to do something. She has to protect them, protect Carlyle. When a huge fireball is about to attack them again, she walks towards it and releases her magic. A huge ray of blue energy emerges, and suddenly the magic that was about to attack them disappears. Carlyle seems to be shocked with what just happened, but he is even more surprised to see Charlotte about to fall. A gentle touch awakens Charlotte, and she momentarily thinks it's Emma. As she opens her eyes, she sees the Duke looking down at her with concern. He assumes the priestess has already treated her. With teary eyes, she assures him that she's all right and asks about his safety after he dodged the magical fireball meant for her. He responds that her safety is his priority and pulls her into a reassuring hug. Shipper alert! The Duke's hug is definitely swoon-worthy. The Duke also mentions that the priestess has treated him and reassures Charlotte that everyone in the palace, especially her brothers and Theo, are safe. The priestess then enters the room, asking Charlotte if she's all right, while requesting to speak with her alone, gesturing to the Duke to leave. After the Duke leaves, the priestess inquires about the Martial Arts Association and wonders if something similar has happened before, specifically concerning nullifying magic, the act of turning magic into nothing. Charlotte exclaims that she doesn't know how to do that. The priestess suggests that it may have been the young lady's doing and solves the case. The priestess also asks if Charlotte remembers the String of Fate, which has 2 connected strings possessed by the young lady and is considered dangerous. Charlotte confirms she remembers it, and the priestess advises her to be cautious with it. Charlotte acknowledges the risk, stating she could die if she continues to use it, but she insists she would use it again if her brother Theo were in danger. Upon hearing Charlotte's resolve, the priestess simply remarks that she must be careful if she wishes to remain with her precious people. After the priestess leaves, Theo comes into her room and hugs her while Emma cries, worried for her well-being. Charlotte assures them she's fine and urges them to stop crying. Charlotte is surprised to learn from Emma that the Imperial Mage's intervention was crucial for her survival. She feels relieved that her unique ability remains a secret, which she will discover later. The secret's safe, for now, but can she keep it a secret for long, especially with the Imperial Mage involved? When Charlotte asks about Ain's whereabouts, Emma informs her that he is currently speaking with the Duke. The child adds that her brother is angry, further shocking Charlotte. Meanwhile, the Duke asks Ain if he used magic to open the door, though it didn't work. Ain does not deny it, but the Duke is unhappy with his response and demands the truth. Ain insists that he is innocent and did not deliberately avoid using magic. Ain adds that if the Duke doubts him, he will take the Lord's oath, which means that if he betrays the Lord, his heart will explode immediately. This leaves the Duke speechless. However, Duke suggests that if Ain is not responsible, there could be another wizard involved that they don't know about and advises him to leave the room. Just as Ain walks out the door, the Duke's assistant arrives with information about who caused the incident. He hands the information to the Duke, who sees that it was Maurice Federo, the disciple of Roandro. Upon seeing it, the Duke is surprised that Federo, a brilliant wizard, is the suspect. His assistant adds that Federo's whereabouts are unknown. This prompts the Duke to decide to move to the mansion's manor as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Theo sleeps peacefully beside Charlotte. She assumes he must be exhausted from taking care of her. She is surprised when he dreams of her leaving him, and she reassures him that she won't go anywhere. A while later, the Duke enters Charlotte's room and asks if she's all right, having worried about her all day. Seeing her improved condition, he is relieved and shares his plan to move to the Heinst mansion, her manor, for its superior magical protections. The Duke apologizes, feeling guilty about the recent raid. He adds that the stranger who targeted Theo claimed it was because of him holding grudges. Seeing him so vulnerable, Charlotte insists it's not his fault since he saved her, and urges him not to blame himself. His cheeks flush red, and Charlotte asks if he's feeling sick. Is it just Charlotte's kindness that's flustering him, or is there something else going on? The Duke assures Charlotte that he is fine and advises her to take better care of herself, which she insists she's doing. Their conversation turns into a playful argument, with Charlotte accusing him of mocking her moves, which he denies. They stop when they hear Theo's latest episode of sleep talking. Afterward, Charlotte gazes into the mirror, reflecting on Ain's earlier words. She recalls his explanation about her magic, which blocks mana and invalidates other magic. She realizes that Ain is the right person to help her understand and validate her own magical abilities. Which, in fact, all of this makes sense because she recalled the time when she shut down Roandro's mana calmly. Charlotte comes to her senses when Emma calls her, telling her that she is set to leave. She just thinks that she can find out more about it in the Heinst mansion. Charlotte steps outside to find Theo and the Duke waiting for her. The Duke asks her if she has said goodbye to her brothers, and she confirms she did so the night before. She even considers him kind for showing concern for her brother. They then decide to leave and head to Heinst mansion. When they arrive at the mansion, Charlotte is awestruck by its extravagance. The Duke playfully teases her about her amazement at the beautiful surroundings, which leads Theo to scold him for laughing at his sister. Not long after, Roandro welcomes them and wishes them well during their stay. He is pleased to have Charlotte with them. She mentions it's not their first meeting, though she doesn't specify when. Roandro recalls meeting her when a special portrait was on display. She corrects him, saying it was actually during Theo's physical examination, which he claims he forgot. However, the Duke is displeased with Roandro's response and hopes he won't have to answer like that further. This prompts Roandro to ask if the Duke has something to say. The Duke then demands that Charlotte take Theo to his room. Is there some unspoken conflict brewing? This scene is thick with suspicion. Once Charlotte and Theo leave, the Duke asks Roandro if he can spare a moment. He inquires about Morris's whereabouts, prompting Roandro to question why he is looking for the boy. The Duke insists on the truth, reminding Roandro that the Lord's oath is engraved in him. Roandro explains that Morris is searching for a suitable person. When asked if Roandro instructed Morris to do this, he replies that it was just a precaution since Heather couldn't have anticipated how things would turn out. He also mentions that Morris acted on the late Duke's orders without expecting the current outcome. Upon hearing this, she recalls her father's mistrust of Roandro and notes the absence of any report involving Morris. Later on, Roandro reveals the truth about the report concerning Morris's location, because he is worried that Theo may reveal his identity as Roseto while the Duke reports something. The Duke then demands action and calls Morris to confirm something. Meanwhile, Morris is walking at the church, speaking to himself about why Roandro wants to talk to him again. He stops when he sees Theo and Charlotte in the garden inside the mansion, and assumes Charlotte is the new tutor. Theo notices him and asks who he is, to which Morris responds, introducing himself with pleasure. What's got him so worried about Roandro wanting to chat? Upon introducing himself, Theo gets scared and hides behind Charlotte's skirt. She asks if he knows Ain, but Morris neglects her question as he becomes captivated by her beauty, concluding she's the prettiest woman he has ever met. He grabs her hand and asks if they can be friends. Meanwhile, Charlotte is shocked by Morris's request. When Theo hears it, he intervenes, calling Morris a bad guy. Morris defends himself, but bumps into the Duke. He pays his respects and welcomes the Duke to the mansion, but he becomes scared when he sees the Duke's face darken. Uh-oh, looks like Morris just stirred the pot of trouble. Ruandro interrupts the tense situation and introduces Charlotte as the Duke's fiancée. Morris, surprised to learn about the engagement, feels embarrassed about his earlier actions. When the Duke says Morris needs to come with him, Morris feels a lot of embarrassment. Afterwards, at the table, the Duke asks if Morris went to the capital a week ago, which Morris denies. The Duke mentions that a martial arts competition took place a week ago, but a raid happened, shocking Morris. The Duke says they need to find the person behind the raid, and Morris agrees. However, the Duke looks at Morris and says he already found the culprit and plans to execute him. Morris understands that the Duke suspects him and kneels, insisting it isn't him, but the Duke doesn't believe him. Whoa, hold on! This scene just took a dark turn! Morris explains that he goes to the Dallas estate to find a suitable person as instructed. He adds that his trail should not be disclosed by his master and looks to his master for help. The Duke throws a magical box enchanted by Ain to test Morris. If Morris can open it, proving he matches Ain's power, he is the guy and will pay with his life. Morris tries but fails to open the box, insisting he isn't the guy. Ruandro suggests that if the Duke still has doubts, Morris should take the Lord's oath. Exhausted, the Duke says it's unnecessary and they should leave. Morris feels thankful his life is spared. However, as they are about to leave, the Duke decides Morris shall stay with him. He asks about Morris's search, and Morris says he hasn't found a suitable person yet. He adds that the suitable person has already experienced death, which stops breathing, and the Duke concludes he experienced the same. Morris also mentions that he isn't the only one searching for someone who almost died. There is someone else looking for the suitable person, which the Duke finds hard to believe. Upon hearing this, the Duke suspects there might be another Roseto. Morris says he plans to investigate, but is requested to return to the mansion. Morris tells the Duke about Penelope O'Hen, who nearly died 7 years ago. The Duke concludes she might be the suitable person and instructs Morris to investigate further. Before Morris leaves, the Duke warns him not to appear before Charlotte if he values his life. Scared, Morris agrees and departs. As Morris leaves, the Duke feels a sharp pain in his heart, as if thorns are piercing him. He then remembers that the anniversary of his mother's death is approaching. At the dining table, Charlotte and Theo wait for the Duke, who still skips his meals. Theo assumes the Duke no longer wants to eat with him, but she suggests he might be busy. A knock interrupts them. It's Emma, explaining that the Duke is skipping meals because his mother's death anniversary is approaching. Upon hearing this, she decides they will eat with him to ensure he has a proper meal. In the Duke's room, all the food from the dining table is transferred there. Charlotte points out that he's not eating, and Theo also wants to eat with him. When Theo asks if they should start eating, the Duke says he's not hungry. Theo wonders why he's not hungry, as the Duke is skipping meals, which Charlotte agrees with. She thinks of a strategy to get him to eat. She decides not to eat if he doesn't. She also calls him a friend, which shocks the Duke. As Charlotte continues with her plan, the Duke finally picks up his utensils and starts eating, making Theo happy. They enjoy their meal, but the Duke reflects on her comment about being friends and questions their relationship status. He also ponders what she thinks of him. The tension is definitely building, and we're dying to know what happens next. Theo's meal is interrupted by rain and thunder, which scares him. Charlotte feels sad because her efforts to change the atmosphere are futile due to the rain. The Duke's mother's death anniversary is being commemorated, and despite the rain, everyone at the mansion attends the ceremony. Charlotte feels pity for him, recognizing his fragility and vulnerability since his mother's passing 2 years ago. Charlotte asks Theo to accompany Emma while she stays by the Duke's side, which he agrees to. She approaches the Duke, thinking he needs support and wants to offer him strength during this difficult time. Charlotte stays by the Duke's side even though it's raining. Although she doesn't know what to say or how to comfort him, she feels like he's holding back his tears despite the pain. Bravely, he tells her to stay with Theo since it's heavily raining. However, he is surprised when he hears her sobbing and lies that something flew into her eyes. Charlotte sticking by the Duke in the rain is incredibly heartfelt. Gently, Charlotte says that everything will be all right, though it would take time. She then tells him she understands that rainy days can be painful and that no one can blame him for feeling sad. Moreover, she adds that it's all right to cry and there's no shame in it. Without hesitation, Duke leans on Charlotte and starts to pour his heart out and hugs her. They're like that for a moment under the rain. After the somber moment, they sit in silence, neither daring to speak. They keep glancing at each other, but when their eyes meet, Charlotte quickly looks away. Finally, the Duke thanks her, and she responds that it's nothing because it's normal for friends to support each other. The Duke then asks if she truly thinks they're just friends. Charlotte hesitates, then apologizes, explaining that she thought they were friends since the martial arts competition. Before she can finish her explanation, the Duke takes her hand and places it on his chest. He asks if she wants to reconsider their relationship, suggesting they might be more than just friends. With that, she can't even utter any words. Wow, her hand on the Duke's chest? That's bold! Charlotte's totally stunned. She can't even react. After their moment the other day, Charlotte sits in her room, blushing as she thinks about what happened. She can't help but marvel at how perfect the Duke's voice is. However, she quickly snaps back to her senses, realizing it's not the right time for such thoughts. She needs to create a magic stone as soon as possible and must not be distracted. Despite her efforts, she can't help but remember how warm the Duke's arm was, even in the rain. She also thinks about his body being sealed with mana, noting that the original story states the seal breaks upon Theo's death. However, she finds it strange that he wants to break the seal while Theo is still alive. Exhausted from pondering the reasons, she refocuses on creating the magic stone because he needs it. Unlike the original story, Penelope is no longer with her and she must make the magic stone herself. Charlotte starts to create the magic stone. She concentrates as much as possible, but just as it's about to be done, the mana vanishes. Disappointed in herself, she reflects on her lack of improvement despite her practice. She hears the door open and sees Theo, who immediately hugs her. She asks if he's been taking care of the garden, but he doesn't respond. Charlotte senses that he might be lying, so Theo eventually says he is taking care of it. Then he reveals he has an inquiry for her, so the boy eagerly asks what she wants besides him. Charlotte, in response, says she wants yellow flowers that bloom in Rania, her favorite. Theo asks if it's the flower embroidered on her handkerchief, and she confirms it. Excitedly, he walks out of the room. Watching him leave, she thinks about how he's been asking random questions these past few days. Oh, how sweet! Yellow flowers from her favorite place? It's clear someone has a soft spot for meaningful gestures. After Theo leaves, Charlotte examines her hands and contemplates how to create a magic stone. She decides to seek help and resolves to find someone who can assist her, wondering why she hadn't thought of it sooner. She heads to the garden and finds Morris, asking if he can listen to her. However, remembering the Duke's warning, Morris insistently tells her not to come near him. As he tries to run away, he trips and falls. Charlotte asks if Morris is alright, and he questions why she needs to approach him. And so, she explains that he is the only one who can help her. Curious, Morris asks what kind of help she needs. After Charlotte convinces Morris, they sit down to discuss how she can work on her magic. He explains that magic will flow from her fingertips. When he's about to mention another method, he recalls the Duke's dark expression, which gives him chills. The Duke will surely freak out knowing this. Morris warns that if he helps her, he will have to hold her hand, and if the Duke finds out, he will be executed. Charlotte laughs at his explanation, saying that the Duke wouldn't do such a thing. Despite Morris's reluctance, she insists and grabs his hand, asking how to perform the magic. Morris fears the Duke might see them. Charlotte begs him again, asking for his help for the Duke's sake and promising to keep it a secret from the Duke. Surprised by her willingness to learn, Morris confirms that if she truly keeps it a secret, he will help. As Morris begins to teach Charlotte, a shadow lurks in the bushes, revealing itself to be Theo's. Theo is likely going to report this to the Duke. And just like that, Theo rushes to the Duke's room, visibly agitated. When the Duke asks what's wrong, Theo reveals that Morris is holding Charlotte's hand. This could lead to serious trouble for Morris. Theo angrily enters Carlyle's office, telling him about what he saw. Morris grabbing Charlotte's hands. Carlyle seems confused about who the mage is, but when Theo said that he has snowy hair, he immediately knows who it is. He seems baffled by the fact that Morris ignored his warning, but come to think of it, it's not just Morris. He knew that Sir Ein's giving Charlotte some magic lessons too, and he has to do something about it. Charlotte is in the room with Sir Ein practicing her magic, but still it seems like it's not doing very well. She still can't perform it perfectly. Suddenly, Carlyle arrives. This is already a cue for Sir Ein to leave, but the moment he leaves, Carlyle slams the door, making Charlotte think that she did something wrong. They are walking towards the greenhouse, and by the moment they open the door, the place is filled with yellow flowers. Charlotte's favorite flowers. Shock is evident on her face. Her eyes widened as tears slowly fill it. Those are tears of gratitude. That's so sweet. But there's still one thing that Carlyle wants to give her. He shows her a box and opens it. There's a ring inside of it. He looks at her and confesses his feelings. Regardless of how it started, he already knows how he feels. It became clear to him the moment she told him that everything will be all right. Those words might be common, but for him, it is special. He never heard those words from anyone, and he didn't know that he needed it either. Not until she said those words to him. Unbearable days might come ahead of him, but it will be okay if she stays by his side. The man is really in love. However, those confessions turn upside down the moment Charlotte refuses to receive the ring. For her, she's not the right person for him. She apologizes, saying that someone else should have been there instead of her, and that it's better for her to stay as his friend, a friend who can help him get through the hard times. We all know she likes him too, but why? What's stopping her? Carlyle calmly asks her if she needs more time, since it seems like she still needs some to realize that she's the perfect partner for him. He hands her the box and tells her that he can wait. He can wait for as long as he has to. The mansion is so busy. A lot of servants are going back and forth to finish up the place, while Charlotte is also making sure that all is perfect. Wonder why they are so busy? It's because it's Theo's birthday. Suddenly, someone touches Charlotte that shocked her. It's Irina with her son Danny. They arrive there as a surprise for Theo. Suddenly, Theo enters the room looking for his surprise. He's even more surprised to see Danny. Their faces immediately lit up just by seeing each other. In the greenhouse, Irina and Charlotte are sitting on the chairs while watching the kids when suddenly Irina notices the yellow flowers and asks if those are the flowers embroidered in Charlotte's handkerchief. And yes, it is. Charlotte tells her that it's Carlyle's surprise for her since he knows that she misses her hometown. Irina also notices the engagement ring. She then tells her that those blue diamonds are really hard to find. That must be why Carlyle gave it to her late. Then it hits Charlotte. This must be the reason why he told her to still wear it, to avoid outsiders from saying something about their relationship. If there's no ring, questions will surely arise. Ever since that day, Charlotte never really met Carlyle properly. It makes her feel confused since he says those things but never showed up in the mansion again. But isn't it her who rejected him? Her face is all red thinking about it. She's so confused with her behavior, even Irina notices it, but she just explained that she's stressed because it's Theo's birthday. Oh no, with that face, it's pretty obvious that she's stressed because of other reasons. The blowing of candles is already finished. Now it's time for Theo to open his gifts. When he opens Charlotte's gift, his face lights up when he realizes that it's the bear Toto from the book he likes the most. Suddenly, the door opens and Carlyle enters. He looks at Charlotte and greets her. She greets him back, but it seems like she can't look at him directly. However, by the moment he sees the ring on her fingers, a hint of a smile appears on his face. Theo immediately runs towards Carlyle and tells him about the Toto that he got from Charlotte. He hurriedly grabs his birthday present from Carlyle, and by the moment he opens it, it is the exact gift that he also got from Charlotte. Carlyle thought that Theo would be disappointed, but instead, the young boy is so happy as he runs towards his friend Danny to show him the gifts. He's such a cute and appreciative boy. Looking at the people enjoying their party, she should be happy, right? But for some unknown reason, Charlotte feels lonely. She walks, planning to go get some fresh air, when all of a sudden she loses her balance. Luckily, someone holds her waist, preventing her from falling. By the moment she looks at the person, she sees those two familiar eyes looking at her. It's Carlyle. Her cheeks reddened. She doesn't know what to say. She feels embarrassed with what just happened. Carlyle asks her to go get some fresh air since it seems like she had too much wine, in which she agrees since that's what she actually planned. However, the moment she tries to leave, he grabs her hand. He wants to go with her too. She tries to reason out that she can do it all alone, but the man refuses. Instead, he gets closer to her and slowly says that he can give her enough time, but he lets go of her hand and that he will do everything for her. Carlyle's offering his hand to Charlotte, but it seems like the young lady is torn between going alone or not. She wanted to go alone, but she can't just leave Carlyle there who's offering his hand. For sure it will stir up some rumors on the guests. At the balcony looking at the sea, Carlyle notices Charlotte who seemed to be having some deep thoughts. He asks what she's thinking. Charlotte shares how she remembers her birthday and the seaweed soup her mother makes for her on her birthday. She expresses how she misses her so much, and if only she knew that her last birthday was the very last time she would see her, she should have treasured that moment. Seeing Charlotte sad breaks his heart into pieces too, so Carlyle walks towards her and hugs her tightly. He didn't know that she's been feeling this way, and hugging her is the least he can do at that moment. It's already morning. The moment Charlotte opens her eyes, she is quite surprised since she's already in her room, and she doesn't remember going in her room last night. Suddenly, someone called her, telling her that her family is here. It surprised her. She hurriedly opens the door and sees her brothers Isaac and Jake together with her parents. In the living room, Charlotte is there together with her parents, brothers, and Theo. She asks her mother why they came. It turns out that Carlyle sent someone last night and personally arranged some carriages to bring them to the mansion. She is surprised that Carlyle did it. It must be because of what she said last night. He really didn't lie when he said that he'll do anything for Charlotte. Her mother touches her hand and looks at her softly, saying that she was worried because of how things went by so fast, especially the engagement. But her concerns vanish seeing Charlotte well. She assures her dad, too, that she's all right, and her injuries during the martial arts competitions were all healed. Her family, including her brothers, feel at ease seeing how well she's doing. Suddenly, Carlyle enters the room, but seeing that they're in the middle of a conversation, he excused himself. Charlotte follows him and expresses her gratitude for the flowers and for bringing her family to the mansion. He looks at her gently in the eyes as he tells her that he'll always be willing to do anything to the best of his ability if it's for her. And then he gets close to her as he smiles and tells her to just stay for as long as possible. Stay as long as possible. After hearing those words from him, there is no way she can leave. Charlotte's family stays for a week, to the point where she feels like that is her own home, where she feels like she has another family. On her way to sleep, she notices someone hiding behind her door. It's Theo. Theo immediately runs towards her and hugs her, telling her that he's afraid of the long thunder. She calms him down and puts him to sleep when she notices someone else knocking at her door. Charlotte's about to open the door, but then Theo stops her, saying that it's a ghost. Suddenly, she feels a cold air passing by, but shrugs it off, thinking that it's all because of the weather. She calms Theo down, telling him that it's all okay and nothing bad will happen as she proceeds to the door. When she's about to open it, she hears someone calling her name. It's Carlyle. She confirms it the moment she opens it and sees Carlyle standing. All of a sudden, Theo shouts out of fear and covers himself with a blanket. Charlotte walks towards him and calms him down. While Carlyle is looking at them, suddenly he accidentally looks at her chest, making his cheeks blush. He immediately excuses himself, but Theo stops him, asking him to sleep with them. And this leaves him no choice since his brother seems to be crying out of fear. Lying on the bed, Theo is already asleep while the both of them are still awake. He asks her if she saw her family off, in which she answered yes, and thanked him once again for what he did. Since Theo is already asleep, he sits up and is about to stand, but suddenly loses his balance the moment Theo unknowingly grabs his shirt. Now he's accidentally on top of Charlotte with very little gap from her face. They both look shocked, their cheeks redden, realizing the position they're in. Suddenly, Carlyle gets more and more closer to her, wanting to kiss her, but he stops the moment he realizes what he's doing. He immediately stands up and exits the room, leaving Charlotte surprised, embarrassed, and confused about what just happened. Oh my god, I was rooting for that kiss! He should have done that! The next morning in Carlyle's office, Carlyle scratches his forehead. He seems to be so bothered by what he did yesterday. He regrets it, even promises himself to not act hastily ever again. His butler even notices it and asks, but Carlyle shifts the topic and asks if they found out who's the person behind what happened in the martial arts competition incident. However, the butler informs him that they are doing their best to find any news about the man behind the martial arts competition incident, but they got nothing yet. This stresses Carlyle out. In that empire, it's almost impossible to avoid the intelligence experts. Who might it be? And for what reason are they targeting Theo? Meanwhile, under a tunnel, a man is pleading for forgiveness from a strange hooded man, asking for one more chance, saying that after the martial arts competition, their target moved. That's why there's nothing else he could do. The hooded man laughs. He finds his explanation funny as he asks the man if the real reason why he can't do it is because he feels uncomfortable killing a child. The man explains that the mansion that Theo is in is filled with ancient magic. That's why physical and magical attacks have no counter effect at all. The hooded man laughs and stomps on the man's hand as he wields out a sword and attacks him with it. He looks at his other servants while he's wiping the blood from his sword as he tells them about their plan on sending someone inside instead of waiting for Theo to be outside. In the room with Sir Ein, Charlotte's still worried about her magic powers. It's always stuck in the same place. If the magic stone begins to take shape, it will break immediately. Sir Ein also doesn't know what's going on very well. Without the ability to create a magic stone, it would be impossible to create its original form. However, her magic stone already has a shape, so maybe it has something to do with Charlotte's mana personality. A normal mana that leaves the body will take the form of a magic stone. However, her mana isn't made with magic stones. They are only used to calm mana. Therefore, the process to make a magic stone seems to be different from normal. In other words, to complete the making of her magic stone, other conditions seem to be needed. Like, there's some sort of secret ingredients that they should have. This made her think about the original work, wherein Penelope didn't need some sort of special ingredients or situation in making the magic stones. Penelope just managed the mansion and spent time with Carlyle. She did the same thing. After all, what might be the conditions for her to be able to create a magic stone? In the end, Sir Ein asks her to go to Carlyle's study and look for some sort of ancient book that might help her with her situation. In the library, Carlyle hands her a book about magic when all of a sudden their hands accidentally touch each other. Instantly, their cheeks turn red. That's the very first time they see each other after the incident. Well, that's pretty awkward. She excuses herself, but before she can even exit the room, Carlyle asks her what the book is for. She looks at him to explain that she's making a magic stone for him and Theo, and that the book might be a help for her. Suddenly, Carlyle shares to her about the information that he got from Morris, that there are people who are looking for a suitable person. The man has blue eyes and blonde hair, so he warns her to stay away from that man if she ever sees them. Meanwhile, as they are talking, someone is watching them from the outside. It's a black cat, and it heard them also talking about Theo, who is peacefully sleeping inside the room. The cat immediately runs towards the bedroom window to look for the young Theo. Theo wakes up, and as he roams his eyes around the room, he sees a cute black cat outside the window. He cutely runs towards it, his eyes filled with so much excitement seeing the cat. The moment he gets closer to it, he asks the cat where its mom is. The cat just gives him a sad expression, telling him that it lost its mom. The cat is clearly playing with Theo's weakness, knowing that the kid already lost both of his parents. When Theo hears it, he instantly becomes determined to find the mother of the cat. Despite knowing that his brother won't allow him to open his bedroom windows, still, he'll do it to help the cat, thinking that it's fine to close it and open it once again. When the cat enters, it immediately jumps and hugs Theo, making the little boy so happy. However, Theo notices a necklace on the cat's neck. There's a red stone there, too. He touches it, and in an instant, a red mana is being released from it, filling the entire room with so much mana. Meanwhile, in Carlyle's room, in the middle of his conversation with Charlotte, they hear a crash from Theo's room. Instantly, they run out of their room, dashing towards Theo's room. As they arrive outside Theo's room, they see servants and Sir Ein outside. They are all hysterical and are panicking since they can't enter his room. It seems like there's a strong magic that is preventing them from going in. Even Carlyle can't open it. He tries, but his hands burn whenever he touches the doorknob. Desperately wanting to save Theo, Charlotte offers to open the door using her magic. She concentrates her mana on her hand, and by the moment she pulls the doorknob, it opens. Before they can even go in, Sir Ein casts a protective magic spell on them. However, by the moment they enter the room, it is filled with magic fire. And for them, it seems like that fire is the one made by Theo. Charlotte doesn't have the power to dispel it. Theo's mana is exploding. Charlotte knows that she still has to go in to help the young boy. Suddenly, she remembers what Priestess Teresa said. If she continues to use her power, her thread of destiny will be severed, so she has to be careful. But now seeing the young Theo suffering, she doesn't really care even if her thread of destiny is severed. She has to save him. Her mind is fixed. She tells them that she has to go in. She's the only one who can calm Theo. But before she can even go, Carlyle grabs her hand, wanting to go with her. Well, he really can't allow Charlotte to go on her own. Seeing the desperation in Carlyle's eyes, she knows that no matter how much she rejects his offer, he won't accept no for this. So she concentrates her mana to the both of them to protect them as they enter the room. They go inside the room and look for Theo everywhere when suddenly they hear someone calling out for them. It's Theo! He's sitting beside a small cabinet. Looking at his face, it's pretty obvious that he's scared. Tears are falling from his eyes as he looks at them clearly, begging for some help. Poor little Theo, he's experiencing so much danger in his life at a very young age. As Charlotte and Carlyle are frantically searching for Theo, Charlotte also calls out Theo's name loudly in the hope that the little boy will reply. Luckily, they also hear Theo's scared voice inside the room full of strong power. Noticing how strong the fire that Theo is emitting, Carlyle holds Charlotte's hand while instructing her that they will need to run towards Theo, which Charlotte quickly agrees to. Upon entering the room, Charlotte instantly sees Theo's small figure crouching in the corner of the room. Thus, Charlotte quickly approached him. Also noticing Charlotte and Carlyle's presence, Theo runs towards Charlotte, telling her he is hurting. Since they are close to each other, Charlotte hugs Theo to calm him, as the mana in the room is running wild and might also hurt him. But Charlotte realizes that whatever she does, she still can't help calm Theo down, which is weird. And it doesn't help that Theo is also complaining about the pain he's feeling right now. Oh, poor baby Theo! You do not deserve the pain! Hearing this, Charlotte and Carlyle begin to worry, since if they can't get Theo to calm down, then it might be dangerous for him, since he might explode. Thus, Charlotte again tries to use her power to calm Theo, but it still fails. Witnessing this, Carlyle suddenly feels scared and remembers how he lost his loved ones in the past, and he didn't even get to help or do something for them. Thus, seeing Charlotte and Theo in pain at the moment, Carlyle resolves to do anything to protect them. Hugging them and using his power to help calm Theo, Charlotte notices this and sees that it is working. As Carlyle tries to calm Theo down, Charlotte notices that her engagement ring shines like Carlyle's, and after a few minutes, Theo calms down. Afterwards, Carlyle then asks Charlotte if she is also alright and not hurting, but Charlotte only smiles at him adoringly, so Carlyle cannot help but hug her again. Later that night, Carlyle is listening to the investigation report about the incident that morning. He then finds out that a dead cat wearing a magic stone is found in Theo's room, and it might be the cause to amplify the amount of mana, and it might be intentional because it is gifted to Theo, and their goal is to cause Theo's mana to explode. Carlyle is furious to hear the investigation report. The secretary adds that they also find a transmission spell in the magic stone, thus the owner might already know that Charlotte is suitable, so they need to be careful. Meanwhile, the unknown man sees that his plan has failed, but also realizes that the story might take a different course when he sees that Charlotte is suitable. In the middle of the night, while Theo is deeply asleep, Charlotte notices tears in Theo's eyes and gently wipes them away. Observing Theo's ongoing distress after the incident, Charlotte starts blaming herself for not arriving sooner to protect him. Oh, Charlotte, please do not blame yourself. After calming Theo and putting him back to sleep after waking up again from the nightmare, Charlotte then stares at the sleeping boy. Carlyle then approaches her and comforts Charlotte since he knows that she's blaming herself for what happened to Theo. Noticing Carlyle's presence, Charlotte quickly gathers and fixes herself while wiping a tear from her eyes. She shifts the topic by asking him whether they have already found out who is responsible for the magic stone given to Theo. Carlyle informs her that they're still looking for that person, and adds that there is another problem she needs to know. The magic stone contains a transmission spell, so that person already knows Charlotte is a suitable one, which is why she is in danger. Knowing this, Charlotte looks Carlyle in the eye and tells him she does not mind, since she already knows this is part of the contract she signed beforehand. Also, Charlotte holds his hands while promising him that she will not be a coward and run away from him and Theo, thus Carlyle does not need to worry. Hearing this, Carlyle is moved by Charlotte's sincerity towards him and Theo, so he reaches for Charlotte's hand and kisses it, promising to protect her at any cost, even if it means not being able to see her again. Oh no, please don't think of leaving or pushing Charlotte away. That is a bad plan, Carlyle. The following morning, Ruandro reports to Carlyle that he has already given the Lord's Oath to Ain, and warns Carlyle that he might also get sick for a few days since he has performed the magic, which is not that easy. Afterwards, Carlyle shares with Ruandro that Theo is not sleeping well after the incident. Learning this, Ruandro shares that they conceal that specific memory of Theo, but Carlyle questions the process, as he thinks it might be risky. Ruandro then tells him that the risk might be low since he has already done that kind of magic, and after 10 years, he sees that it is still effective. Carlyle agrees with Ruandro and tells him to proceed with the plan. Next, Carlyle receives another report from his staff that they've still not found Penelope's whereabouts. Carlyle instructs them that anyone is fine as long as they qualify and can protect themselves, and the staff quickly agrees. Alone, Carlyle suddenly feels a pang of pain in his heart while remembering a voice in his head. Looks like a part of Carlyle's memory is sealed as well. While clutching his heart, Carlyle suddenly gets some flashbacks and sees two boys talking to each other, but the flashbacks quickly fade away. In reality, Carlyle starts to wonder what it means to see flashbacks of two boys talking, so he tries to justify that he might only be seeing and remembering nonsensical things. Meanwhile, Charlotte watches over Theo as he rests, his memories sealed away by Ruandro after the fire. With a gentle gaze, she murmurs her promise. When Theo faces his pain again, she will stand beside him, ready to support him with unwavering confidence. Afterwards, Ain barges into Theo's room while apologizing to Charlotte for visiting late, but the matter he intends to share is very important. Ain then hands her a magic stone he found at the crime scene during the accident. Upon receiving the stone, Charlotte instantly feels her own mana from it. Thus, Ain explains that it is a magic stone she created during the day the fire broke out. Hearing this, Charlotte reflects on how she succeeded in making a magic stone, even though during practice she used the same method and failed each time. But during the accident, she surprisingly managed to create a magic stone. After careful thought, Charlotte finally realizes that one factor is that she and Carlyle are hugging while she's using her power. But when Ain questions Charlotte about whether she has any idea or remembers how she created the magic stone, Charlotte denies it, since if she reveals it to Ain, she will also have to reveal that Carlyle is a Roseto, which might put Carlyle in danger. Ain then tells Charlotte to inform him if she ever gets an idea of how she created the stone, and Charlotte smiles and nods, feeling a little guilty. That's right, don't trust anyone first. Next, Charlotte thanks Ain for giving her the magic stone and informs him that she will turn it into a bracelet for Theo to use as additional protection, and Ain agrees. Later that night, while Carlyle sleeps, he begins to dream of two boys talking. One is comforting the crying boy, who feels guilty and hurting everyone because he cannot control his mana. Hearing this, Carlyle notices that the boy is like him, speaking as Roseto. He moves closer to the kids to see their faces clearly, and when he sees one boy, he is shocked to recognize him as a child. Carlyle quickly wakes up from his dream while still panting and clutching his heart. Feeling the pain and panic, Carlyle decides to visit Charlotte, and upon arriving at her room, he then faints in Charlotte's arms. Seeing Carlyle's weak body in front of her room, Charlotte quickly guided him to her bed for him to lie down. Theo and Charlotte watch and wait for Carlyle to wake up from his rest. But seeing how weak Carlyle's state is, Charlotte decides to try to use her mana towards Carlyle by touching his hand. After a few minutes, Carlyle wakes up, noticing this. Theo and Charlotte hover over him and ask how he's feeling. Carlyle sees the concern on the two people, which makes him glad. Theo then hugs Carlyle and continues to cling to him, while Charlotte slowly lets go of Carlyle's hand after making sure that he's doing fine. Carlyle tightly holds her hands, automatically making Charlotte freeze. Witnessing this action, Theo's eyes beam, and he happily smiles while commenting about how Carlyle is holding Charlotte's hand just like how he also does when he feels weak, since he feels better after holding Charlotte's hand too. Oh, Theo, you are so innocently cute! Hearing Theo, both smile at him lovingly. Carlyle also brings Theo's hands towards them. Later that night, Carlyle and Charlotte tuck a sleeping Theo into bed, and Carlyle notices a magic stone that he knows comes from Charlotte's mana. Charlotte also noticed this, so she explains that she was able to survive the fire incident and thinks it might be because Carlyle hugged her while using her mana. Charlotte then asks Carlyle if she can do it again with him, and he agrees. Performing again, Charlotte successfully made a magic stone, hence Carlyle asked her what she would do with it. Charlotte looks at him and sheepishly explains that she will be giving it to him since she already received her engagement ring from Carlyle. She intends to use the magic stone to make one for Carlyle. Sharing this makes Charlotte blush, which Carlyle finds cute. Afterwards, while in the office, Carlyle smiles as he remembers how cute Charlotte is. But then Raboth barges in and informs him that a royal invitation to the ball and a royal edict have arrived. Knowing this, Carlyle has an ominous feeling about this invitation since it feels like a trap. Gathering in Carlyle's office, Ain strongly objects to the idea of Carlyle attending the ball, even if it is an order from the Emperor, since they all know that it is also a trap to harm Carlyle. But Chase also reminds Ain that Carlyle also does not have any choice but to attend the ball to show respect for the Emperor's authority and to avoid more misunderstandings. Carlyle also agrees with Chase's sentiment, so he announces that he will attend the ball to see who set the trap. Charlotte also informs that she will be joining Carlyle at the ball to also protect him, since they do not know if the opponent might also use magic. Ain also agrees to Charlotte's idea, but Carlyle instructs Ain and Chase to leave the office first since he wants to talk to Charlotte alone. Alone, Carlyle reminds Charlotte that attending the ball with him is very dangerous, but she assures him that she will join him and has no plans to back out. Seeing how determined Charlotte is, Carlyle readily agrees, but he reminds her to be careful with the blue-eyed man and Penelope Ohen. Charlotte instantly becomes silent after hearing Penelope's name, since in the original novel, Carlyle will meet Penelope at the ball, making her feel sad about the idea. The day of the royal ball arrives, and Theo and the maid praise how beautiful Charlotte is. They even comment that she will outshine the other guests, making Charlotte blush. After a while, Carlyle arrives and announces that he will be picking up Charlotte. Theo turns to Carlyle and praises how handsome he looks, which Charlotte also silently agrees with. Alone, Charlotte remembers to give Carlyle the engagement ring she made just for him. As she gently slides it onto his finger, he smiles, warmth in his eyes, while Charlotte softly reminds him he must never take it off, a promise Carlyle gladly makes. Why can't they just say they love each other already? They look so endearing together. As Charlotte arrives at the palace, she takes a deep breath, steadying herself before stepping into the grand ballroom. The moment she enters, guests begin to shower the couple with compliments, marveling at their beauty. Many are stunned to learn Charlotte hails from the countryside, unable to reconcile her elegance with their expectations. It is clear that judgment is a frequent pastime among those present. As whispers and rumors swirl around the room, Carlyle leans in and gently tells Charlotte to ignore the gossip and keep her attention on him. Soon everyone bows as the Emperor makes his entrance. While he delivers his welcome speech, Charlotte can't help but notice something odd about his eye, though she chooses not to linger on it. Afterward, Carlyle offers his hand and invites Charlotte to dance. As they glide across the floor, Charlotte remarks on his impressive skill. Carlyle admits that, even when he does not want to dance, he must be proficient, as in many other parts of life. With a curious look, he asks if Charlotte has danced with many men before. When she confirms, he grows serious and declares that from now on, she is only allowed to dance with him. Charlotte spots a couple on the dance floor who resemble the blue-eyed man and Penelope. She tells Carlyle she needs to leave and follow Penelope, who has already slipped away. Carlyle gently stops her for a moment, reminding her to be careful and not to put herself at risk. Charlotte nods in agreement. As Charlotte follows Penelope, a man stops her and introduces himself as Lionel Wisner. Charlotte greets him and respectfully tries to excuse herself, but Lionel stops her again and weirdly asks if she's looking for a fiancé who does not love her, making Charlotte freeze in her tracks. Oh, I am having a bad feeling about Lionel. He's giving bad vibes. Meanwhile, Carlyle searches for Charlotte, realizing she's been gone for some time. He checks the balcony but does not find her there. As he turns to head back inside, Penelope appears and greets him. Seeing Penelope in front of him, Carlyle looks behind her, knowing that Charlotte was following her, but he does not see any sign of her. Penelope notices that Carlyle is not focused on her and is looking past her, which she instantly knows that he's looking for Charlotte. Penelope swiftly moves closer to Carlyle and touches him with the hands that have a magic stone. Carlyle instantly feels dizzy, so he backs away from Penelope, but he starts to realize that something is messing with his head, since he gets some flashbacks again. Carlyle sees the two boys again and learns they are twin brothers who are very close. He starts to remember how Edgar comforts him when he's unable to control his power, even when he's already 7 years old, and that the expected age to control his power is 5. Everything is going fine until the day Edgar is kidnapped by Marquis Petrian, whom Carlyle's father thinks is jealous and afraid that a magician is appearing in the Carlyle family. Hearing this, the little Carlyle realizes the Petrian family is the one that produces great mages from generation to generation, and he, being a magician, becomes their original target, not Edgar. Thus, after knowing that Edgar was killed by the kidnapper, Carlyle instantly knows that he is partly to blame for Edgar's death, making him feel super guilty. Oh, poor child, blaming himself for the evil deeds of other people. Because of this, little Carlyle avenges Edgar by burning Marquis Petrian's house to the ground with his hand. And seeing how big the fire is, little Carlyle and anybody seeing it already know that no one can survive it. But little Carlyle did not feel any guilt at all because, for him, they all deserve to die. Back in the present, Carlyle is kneeling in front of Penelope while trying to calm himself, since at this rate, he already knows that his mana will explode if he does not regulate his emotions. But luckily, while clutching his chest, he notices the ring Charlotte made for him is emitting light again, the same thing as Charlotte's mana, making him calm again. Charlotte also arrives at the scene and worriedly calls out and runs towards Carlyle, but stops to catch a fainting Penelope. Upon catching her, Charlotte instantly feels that a magic is cast onto Penelope. I think Penelope is possessed by the blue-eyed man. We can only wait as the plot unravels. While Charlotte is checking on Penelope, Charlotte shares that Penelope is acting strange, like someone who is under a spell. True enough, while Charlotte checks on Penelope, she sees her wearing a bracelet with a magic stone. Thus, Charlotte decides to remove the spell on Penelope first before bringing her home. After cleansing, Charlotte suddenly feels tired and wonders if it's because she exerted more magic to cleanse Penelope. Carlyle also notices this, so he cautiously asks how Charlotte is feeling. But she assures him that she is fine and asks him to carry Penelope to the carriage so they can bring her home. While Charlotte is left behind, she suddenly coughs, and upon checking her hand is shocked to find blood on it, but decides to act as if nothing happened and keep it a secret from everyone. Arriving at home, Charlotte and Carlyle look at a sleeping Penelope, and while waiting for her to wake up, Carlyle shares with Charlotte that the stone from Penelope's bracelet is a magic stone, and he notices that upon Penelope's grabbing his wrist, he feels a disturbance of mana around him and realizes that the purpose of the red magic stone is to bring out sealed memories. Hearing this, Charlotte unknowingly asks whether Carlyle keeps getting flashbacks, and because of this, Carlyle instantly knows that Charlotte already has an idea about his sealed memories. Realizing her mistake, Charlotte apologized to Carlyle for keeping him in the dark, but Carlyle assured her that he understood and knew she had a reason for not telling him. Afterwards, Penelope wakes up confused and asks them about what happened and how she ended up in the room. They tell her where she is and question if she recalls what happened, but Penelope shares with them that she only remembers getting ready for the ball and getting picked up by Viscount Lister. The rest of the night becomes a blur to her. Suddenly, Penelope begins to clutch her head since it starts to hurt more than she can tolerate. Because of this, Charlotte asks Carlyle to call Aine, since it might be a side effect of Penelope's brainwashing, and Carlyle follows through. Later that night, Carlyle confronts Roandro about sealing his memory 10 years ago. Roandro did not react that much and looked like he already anticipated this. He then tells Carlyle that he only follows the wishes of the past Duke, whose only wish is to keep Carlyle acting normal again, so that he will not have any mana explosion. Hearing this, Carlyle questions him about not informing him when he ascends to the title of Duke, because to him, if he had known about Edgar and Marquis, then he would also remember that a child was alive during his revenge, putting Theo in danger. Roandro is still shocked, but Carlyle gives him a critical question. Is he following him right now, or is it still the past Duke? Early in the morning, Charlotte suddenly coughs up blood, leaving her shaken. She doesn't understand why this is happening. The symptom feels strange and dangerous, and it reminds her of the warning Priestess Teresa once gave her. She then writes a letter to the priestess with worried thoughts in her mind. How could this even happen? The Duke and Charlotte visit Lady Ohen, but this time she's now feeling a lot better and fully taken care of thanks to them. While both of them are chattering, Charlotte senses a strange atmosphere. She feels like she does not belong in this conversation. Her chest feels like it is hurting, but this time she's not coughing blood. The Duke then addresses the matter, but Charlotte obviously would not admit it and insists that everything's fine. While listening, the lady is confused and puzzled by Charlotte's behavior. Charlotte quickly and loudly asks the lady a question. While going to the ball, Viscount Lister picked up Lady Ohen. She is curious about the status between the lady and him. She then replied that it was just a matter of family business and that it was out of her control. But to come with Viscount Lister just because her father asked her to, no relationship at all. I believe the lady. After a while, Duke then excuses himself to do something important, and he pats Charlotte's shoulder. The lady notices the actions between the two of them and speculates an even greater bond between both, but Charlotte denies it nervously. Oh, come on, Charlotte. You really suck at hiding your feelings. Now that the two of them are alone, something more important needs to be talked about. Charlotte states that the bracelet Viscount Lister gave the lady has hypnosis. Maybe that was the reason he did not want her to show anyone who would request to see the bracelet, because it contains magic. Someone from the ball grabbed Lady Ohen's wrist to see the bracelet. She unfortunately cannot remember what that person looked like, having Charlotte speculate why she can't remember someone who grabbed her wrist. Leaving all these clues behind, the only person who can cast magic can't be Viscount Lister. No, it cannot be also Rosetto, but someone who met Penelope, the same person who tried to grab Charlotte at the ball. The Duke asks if she can still remember the man's name. Lionel Wisner. Yes, that's his name. Things just got Interesting. We see someone writing a letter who seems to address Charlotte's family. She then receives the letter and reads it. It could be right before the thread of fate is cut. Anxiously, she realizes how scary death and regret are. She quickly runs to Carlyle and confesses her feelings before it's too late. "You go, Charlotte!" The Duke opened the door. Hearing Charlotte's heartfelt confession, he also then says something with courage. He admits that the attack on the Petrian family was his fault. You see, after losing Edgar, he burnt the entire Petrian mansion, killing everyone. At that time, all he wanted was just to repay for his brother's death. With that being said, he does not want Charlotte to end up with someone who is like that. Lives were lost because of him. Charlotte accepts him for who he is. At that moment, they will share anything they hide and laugh it off together. They both grabbed each other and kissed. The Duke really wanted to be called by his name, as if that's what he always wanted to hear. "I love you, Charlotte." Those words marked a smile on her face. Everything will be all right now that they have each other. This giddy feeling will surely last long for both of them. At the Duke's office, Chase is handling the files he requested to gather about Lionel Wisner. To his surprise, the younger sister of the late Count Wisner has relations with Marquess Petrian, and they even bear an illegitimate child together. Because of that, chaos and mistreatment are being shown to the Petrian family during the extermination. Although it seems unclear now, it seems like Lionel Wisner is using Viscount Lister. But just moments later, he realizes everything. Wisner was just using Viscount Lister as a distraction so that his own identity wouldn't be busted, to the point that he won't be chased when authorities grab for him. The clear reason he wants to target Theo is to get revenge on the Duke. With absolute courage, but nothing but revenge and will, he orders that both of them appear in front of him, regardless of the circumstances. Viscount Lister is seen running away. He surely cannot escape this time with all of Duke's knights. Just as when he thought he would not be caught, a wizard appeared. Without wasting more time, he captures him and sends him to the Duke. Magic. You really can't get away with it. Held captive, struggling Viscount Lister is welcomed by the Duke. Upon checking his mouth, there were no signs of enough poison for him to commit suicide. With desperation, Viscount was ready to tell everything he knew. But the Duke? He already knows. He asks where Lionel Wisner is right now, but Viscount refuses to answer, having the Duke take out his dagger. More violence could lead to truthful answers. Right after stabbing his hand, he admits that they have no contact with each other and that they have to wait until Lionel Wisner contacts him back. Moments during the interrogation, when Viscount was just about to tell the secrets, magic kept him from saying it. He coughs up blood and then loses his breath, leading him to his death. The Duke feels outraged. The answers were already on the tip of his tongue. They were so close. Charlotte seems to be reading a book about Toto, the bear who needs to get out of his cave to seek answers for his problem. Theo fell asleep while she was reading the fairy tale. The Duke then arrives, wondering why she's still awake. Charlotte notices Duke tired and overworked. The priestess visited the mansion. The Duke couldn't help but wonder. Charlotte remembers the letter she received. She couldn't help but think about that single phrase that struck her deeply. She builds up her courage and escapes from her cave. Just like Toto, she is ready to tell her beloved Carlyle everything. Hiding in our caves will never be the answer to our unsolved thoughts. Charlotte is now ready to tell Carlyle as to why the priestess was here in the mansion, and it is because she wanted to see Charlotte. You see, Charlotte cannot control herself when she uses her powers. In disbelief, Carlyle is worried about her, but also questioning if what she is saying is true. Since Charlotte wants to protect Theo also, she is forced to hide away and bottle her problems up. The two hugged. Carlyle and Charlotte exchange words of affirmation towards each other. She just doesn't want to become a burden to him, as he is someone who already has everything on his shoulders. The Duke clarifies that no matter what the problem may be, she can always tell him immediately, because all he wants is to be with her through thick and thin. As the conversation grew deeper, the two of them decided to rest. The priestess and the Duke planned on going to the Majesty tomorrow. She jokingly says that they promised to do anything together, but this is a serious matter. Carlyle assures Charlotte that this time he won't lose her and is now determined to spend the rest of his life with her. The two kiss, and in that moment, both agreed on an engagement. Theo adorably responds while sleeping, making both Charlotte and Carlyle share a giggle. What a heartfelt scene! Theo is so adorable! The next day came. The Duke and the Priestess sense an unusual atmosphere inside the palace. As they enter inside, they are welcomed with the Majesty's presence. Right after introducing themselves, the Duke is immediately captured. The two of them were confused. It was a motive all along. No wonder the air felt strange earlier. The Majesty finally captured the traitor. He orders the guards to execute him this instant. Things might be confusing for both of them, but one thing is for sure. It's all a misconception and brainwashing from Lionel Wisner. He can't be executed! What about Charlotte and Theo? Things might be confusing for both of them, but one thing is for sure. It's all a misconception and brainwashing from Lionel Wisner. His Majesty heard that the Duke was planning to turn the ballroom into an inferno, but the Duke already knew it was all brainwashing. He was brainwashed into thinking that he was planning something bad. The Priestess then steps up. The plan is now doing its work. The Priestess uses her magic to brainwash the Majesty, but this time for their own good. Upon casting her magic, he is seen catching his breath with a tight chest. Once His Majesty snapped out of it, he is surprised to see both of them. The knights can't figure out what happened, obeying the Majesty to unhand the Duke. As he is now free, he then explains what happened earlier. The Majesty cannot believe what he hears. Brainwashing? Magic? Lionel Wisner used brainwashing on him to take advantage of his power. His Majesty ordered to capture Wisner and make him pay for his crimes. But the Duke insisted that he wants to punish him instead. Oh, he is dead now for sure. Carlyle arrives safely back home. Charlotte is quick enough not to disturb sleeping Theo. She grabs Carlyle outside and embraces him with a tight hug. Charlotte can't help but worry about what happened during that journey. But Carlyle is safe and assures her that everything went fine. Carlyle explains what happened and that he is happy that His Majesty allowed him to take care of Lionel's wrongdoings together with Charlotte. The only problem is that the only proof they had was Viscount Lister. Wisner can be really clever, but Charlotte quickly had an idea. If he is willing to do anything to appear and harm them, how about using the engagement ceremony as a bait? They knew that the ball was a bait, but still attended it. Lionel will do the same, won't he? It's time to use this opportunity to finally punish him once and for all. As Theo overhears the conversation shared between the two, he asks what engagement means. For him, he heard that there will be a party to be held on that day, so that means an engagement will be good, right? The Duke and Charlotte laugh at how adorable Theo can be. The Duke promises to spend the rest of his life together with her. Theo puts a smile on his face. He's so excited for that day to happen. Can this engagement happen already? Worried about the engagement being all a show, Carlyle insisted on inviting Sir Jake and Sir Isaac. Carlyle doesn't want to be hidden behind the shadow of being a liar, and neither does Charlotte. Therefore, telling the truth about their status would put him on their good side. The Duke can be really funny, huh? Love him for that. Charlotte explains to both of them about the party, but the two are surprised. An invitation all of a sudden, yet neither of their parents was invited. But Charlotte explained everything, from when Theo was targeted by the assassins to using the engagement party as bait for Lionel Wisner. The two looked surprised and uneasy. They demanded a cancellation of the party. From their perspective, they think that Lionel Wisner could do even worse than what he had done. Moreover, what if he harms Theo again? As Jake calms down, he agrees to follow what Charlotte wants, but he wants to help, yet Charlotte refuses. She doesn't want to let anyone be in danger because of her. Isaac agrees, but Jake cannot believe it. No matter what they do, they can't just slide right in through Charlotte's plans. The two agreed to just stay outside the party. Whenever she needs them, they're right there to protect her. The night came, and Charlotte was filled with anxious thoughts about the party. She cannot calm down without Carlyle. Suddenly, the priestess appeared right in front of her. She was startled, but also happy to see her. She warned Charlotte not to use her powers for the party, but she tells her that when the moment comes during that occasion, she will make use of her abilities. She assures the priestess that even though her life is at stake, she will do everything to protect the people close to her, and what matters to her the most right now: Theo and Carlyle. Little does Charlotte know, Carlyle is carefully listening to the conversation. He heard everything, and he is shocked and fully unaware that his beloved is in danger. Oh my, I hope this won't affect their relationship. The next day, they are now preparing for the tremendous event happening. Theo looks ravishing in his suit. Truly a prince in the making, but there's no prince without a princess. A luxurious and beautiful dress piques their attention. The maid really takes her job seriously with a smile on her face. With that, Charlotte wants to thank her for everything, not just for her, but for Theo as well. She hugs her tight. Without her kindness and enthusiasm, Charlotte wouldn't make it in this world full of doubt and hardships. Through all the challenges and uncertainty she has faced, the maid's warmth and loyalty have always been a source of comfort for her. In moments where Charlotte felt overwhelmed by the weight of everything around her, it was this simple kindness that reminded her she was not completely alone. Charlotte promised the maid to see her again after the ceremony in order for her to tell the truth also. She knew that the time would soon come when everything hidden would finally be revealed, and when that moment arrived, she wanted her to discover the truth directly from her. This scene might be my favorite in this chapter. Carlyle arrives in the room and sees Theo, surprised at how nicely he's dressed. Despite that, he still cannot hide his expression at what he heard last night. But he has a plan. He tells Charlotte to follow him. A book controls a shelf that leads them to a secret room. When things get chaotic during the event, he wants them to reside here in the meantime. He ordered Celine to take good care of both Charlotte and Theo when that happens. Yet Charlotte doesn't want to hide. What if the wizard comes and attacks them? Her magic can truly be a huge help. But Carlyle knows everything now, that her life is in danger and she should not use her magic. He does not want to lose Charlotte. Charlotte, as well, doesn't want to lose Carlyle. He promises that when things get dangerous, he will come back to her and Theo. Both hug. When trust is built, love flourishes. They always make me feel butterflies. The ceremony comes. The atmosphere feels warm and romantic. People gather and exchange their felicitations. Even though the ceremony is just a bait to capture the wicked, Charlotte feels happy and complete. Just when she's feeling the moment, the ground shakes. Theo is scared, but Charlotte will not leave him behind and stays the whole time to protect him. Guards are already in position. It seems like someone is intruding on the big event. Carlyle quickly tells Charlotte about the plan to let them hide inside the secret room. Hesitantly, she doesn't want to go. Carlyle kisses her on the head, a promise to let her know that everything will be fine as long as they wait for each other. As Carlyle pulls out his sword, a notable figure slowly approaches them. That's right, it's Lionel Wisner. At this moment, he realizes that this battle may be more dangerous than anything he has faced before. Despite his fear, he refuses to back down, knowing that retreating now could put everyone else in danger. It's starting, and we already expected it. He's here! Wisner doesn't seem to be afraid of what is coming. Rather, he looks unfazed and arrogant. Carlyle knew that this is the moment they had always planned. He gathered all his strength and will to defeat the iniquitous. He is not afraid, yet the overpowering magic of Wisner tends to be more overwhelming than he expected. Wisner summons unusual entities. They attack with no hesitation. Carlyle's custodians tremble in panic. Nonetheless, he shows courage and strong will. With one slash of his sword, the Phantom is defeated easily. However, he is flabbergasted to witness that its body won't die even though it was cut in half. It appears to be regenerating. By burning the body, it won't regenerate. Morris and Ain attempt to burn the body ordered by Carlyle. It worked! But Wisner doesn't care an inch. How come? Carlyle wonders how Wisner can be so relaxed after his magic is failing. Inside the room, Charlotte and Theo are accompanied by Celine. The rumbling noise from the outside filled the walls with fear and uncertainty. Theo is restless and scared, but Charlotte should be strong for both of them. Just moments later, the mansion starts to shake. The walls start to crack. Any minute now, the whole mansion will collapse. Charlotte senses this familiarity with the mana being dispersed across the whole area. It is the same mana that invaded the mansion during the martial arts competition. Charlotte thinks about everyone's safety and well-being. She just can't stay hidden. Her powers could help prevent the mansion from collapsing. To save Theo, she has to abolish the mana in any possible way. Celine holds back Charlotte's impulsive thoughts and warns her how dangerous it is. She stands for what is right for that very moment, and that is to show up and conquer the evil with her magic. As Celine and Theo stay inside the room, the brave Charlotte runs to Carlyle with courage and pride. "Show them what you got, Charlotte!" The fight continues. Just when Wisner steps closer, the guards use all their might to protect the Duke. But of course, his powers are even more powerful than swords alone. Carlyle commands him to step back instead and let him deal with Wisner. After all, it's him who he wants to kill. But that's where he was wrong. He wants to kill everyone, but not Carlyle. Yes, he wants every single one in front of him to die. With a single snap, Wisner separates space and magic. Therefore, he loses his control, making it an advantage for Wisner. Carlyle's companions begin to look for him. At this moment, he feels completely helpless. Standing there, he can do nothing but watch as the people around him begin to fall one by one. The enemy's dark magic has completely taken control of the situation, leaving no room for escape. It seems as though the battle has already been decided. However, despite the overwhelming power before him, he refuses to give in to despair. Deep down, he remains unshaken, believing that fate still has one final twist waiting to change everything. This can't be! Everything's falling apart! Will Charlotte manage to make it in time to save her beloved Carlyle? The stakes have never been higher, and the danger surrounding them grows more intense with every passing moment. Doubts may begin to occupy her mind, but her determination is stronger than the fear of sacrificing her life. No matter the cost, she is willing to do whatever it takes to save the one she cares about most. Lionel intentionally casts an invisibility spell on Carlyle so he can watch helplessly how his people will rot. A sickening revenge. This is about to get too dark! Carlyle grips his sword, but even his skill means nothing against a fully trained Rosetta like Lionel, who wields mirage magic with cruel precision. The scumbag sneers, noting how Carlyle reminds him of Edgar. Of course that's the case, they're twins! He reminisces about bullying the young Edgar until his dying day. After discovering the late Marquis took the wrong twin, Lionel finally sees the real one in the flesh. He scoffs at how ordinary Carlyle appears. Something snaps within the Duke. Carlyle grabs Lionel by the collar and slams him to the ground, fury igniting in his voice, emphasizing his dislike over Lionel bad-mouthing his deceased older twin. Lionel laughs hysterically, almost impressed that a Rosetta like Carlyle can use magic at all. The word almost. He senses Carlyle struggling to control even a flicker of mana. If he's not careful, he might go on a rampage. Carlyle's sword presses against Lionel's throat. When did it get stained with blood? Demanding he lift the spell. Lionel only grins sadistically, taunting him to kill him, and if he does, no one can undo the magic. He'd rather watch Carlyle live forever, witnessing everyone he loves suffer. However, a familiar voice calls out. A flicker of a bright blue light floods the space. Charlotte appears, her neutralizing powers binding Lionel's hands. She came to save him! While Lionel flounders, Charlotte's voice cuts through Carlyle's chaos. To do what he must, as they can do this together and that she will always stay by his side. Lionel cowers when a dark puller aura erupts around the Duke as those dead eyes lock onto him. The sword pierces clean through, no hesitation. Lionel is gone. That was fast. I was expecting a great battle or something. And why did he need a suitable person for his plans too? With him gone, it also means the invisibility spell shatters. Carlyle sees reality as Charlotte wraps him in an embrace, worried sick. He panics. She was supposed to escape through the secret passageway. Charlotte merely pulls away, but as she has different plans, she reminds him that she will protect him. With a glow of light in her hands, she reassures him with a bright smile that everything will be all right. The fire subsides and the rumbling stops. Victory settles over the battlefield. But Carlyle's relief shatters as Charlotte collapses before him, her powers draining her completely. Nothing is ever simple, is it? That night, while watching over her unconscious body, Teresa informs the Duke about Charlotte's state. Her soul isn't truly Lady Rania's. The connection between body and spirit is dangerously weak. Although, there is hope only if Charlotte returns before it's too late. Most men would reel from such a revelation. Carlyle? Our green flag stays gloriously green. He'll do whatever it takes to bring his fiancée back. With the Saintess's power channeling through him, he silently promises to wait for her. then finds himself tumbling into her subconscious world. Seoul, South Korea, the present. Unha laughs with a friend until her breath catches. A man stares at her with devastating intensity. Modern clothes, familiar eyes, a presence that stirs something deep. She walks past him, heart hammering. Even when looking at the perfectly blue sky, nothing eases the nagging in her heart and mind. At home, she hugs her mother without reason, gratitude overwhelming her. Some instinct whispers to cherish this moment, to act now before regret consumes her later. Like some sort of deja vu. Later, she spots him again. That somber gaze draws her closer despite every warning bell. He calls her Charlotte, making her mind throb. She tells him to leave, then accidentally speaks his name. Confusion wars with recognition and familiarity. Even though she keeps telling him to leave, Carlyle won't back down. He came to bring her home, just as she once brought him back. And then, floodgates of memories of her being Charlotte and them together surge forth. She remembers everything. Tears stream down her face as she crashes into his arms. Carlyle holds her tight, whispering gratitude that he reached her in time. But one thing remains: her mother. The goodbye shatters her all over again. Leaving her mother twice is cruelty she never deserved. They both have a heartfelt one-on-one talk, sharing one last embrace as if she's really going to disappear again. Yet her mother's words heal the wound. If her Unha is happy and living well, that's enough. Who is she to stop her? As if she understands. As if she always understood. Reassured, loved, and ready, they leave that world behind. Charlotte opens her eyes to the people she cherishes most, surrounding her with tears and smiles. Welcome back, Charlotte. Welcome home. Our baby Theo sobs, tiny weight crashing into Charlotte with desperate relief. His little arms squeeze tight, unwilling to let go ever again. Emma presses a handkerchief to her damp eyes while Teresa exhales in relief. When Carlyle approaches, Charlotte wraps him in a hug and whispers quiet thanks for bringing her home. Cue the waterworks. Someone pass me the tissues. The next day, Teresa examines Charlotte's fate thread with furrowed brows and confusion written across her face. It should be fragile as spun glass and should snap with the slightest disturbance. Yet somehow it holds strong, woven with impossible resilience. Charlotte understands why. It's because she's no longer tethered to her past life, no longer torn between two worlds, no regrets, no longing. She's exactly where she belongs. Isaac and Jake arrive, guilt weighing heavy on both their shoulders. The magical barrier locked them out during the battle, an invisible wall trapping them while she fought for her life. Charlotte silences their apologies with a gentle smile. Their love carried her through the darkness. Big brother energy, maximum output. Protective mode, always active. With Carlyle away at the Imperial Palace for a week, probably mountainous paperwork demanding his attention, Jake shares troubling news over tea. Rumors spread like wildfire through the capital about Lionel's origin as the illegitimate son of the late Marquis, and his web of assassination attempts on little Theo, and causing a ruckus of incidents in the Empire. Anyone who aided him financially now faces execution, most especially Count Wisner. Jake admits he'd have made Lionel suffer worse regardless of Imperial decree. Charlotte laughs, warmth blooming in her chest as she embraces both her brothers. Sibling love hits different, forever and always. Days blur peacefully, one melting into the next. Charlotte and Theo nestle against Carlyle as he reads Toto's story aloud, his deep voice wrapping them in contentment. Until Sir Roandro appears with purpose burning in his eyes. Stance? Yes. Where were you during the battle, old man? Important mage business, apparently. Far more important matters, he insists mysteriously, leading them to the portrait room. The family photo glows under his weathered touch. Magic ripples across the canvas like water. Edgar materializes in the empty space beside Carlyle. Solid, real, and finally visible for Carlyle to see. This is Roandro's way of deciding that he chooses to serve Carlyle, the current Duke, not the former Duke, his father, anymore. It's better late than never. Reflecting on how wrong he was for abiding by the previous duke's wishes even right now, Roandro apologizes deeply, profoundly, and offers his resignation. He sees that he can no longer dutifully serve as the executive mage after such misguided loyalty for so long. With his request granted, he also informs him that Edgar's grave is also with the rest of the family, but invisible. He will have to lift the spell and restore everyone's memories before leaving. Until then, he wishes the ducal family to live in peaceful happiness. Theo, always so curious, can't help but notice how there are two Carlyles in the photo. The elder brother tells him that it's their older brother who went to heaven with their parents. For the first time, the brothers stand together before their family portrait. To cheer them both up over this sobering moment, Charlotte suggests to them an idea. The three all dressed up and posed for a new family portrait. Something for them to remember as they grow old of how they're finally happy. At Edgar's newly visible tomb in the Heinst cemetery, Theo introduces himself cutely while Carlyle? Oh, Carlyle. He no longer looks at the tombs in sadness and pain. Rather, he's now content and happy as he talks to Edgar to rest in peace now while he protects their family. Heck, even with sad occasions like this, it's no longer sad as the sun shines upon it. Seems like everything is going to get better. Nope, Carlyle is in distress, making Charles nervous if he did anything wrong. It turns out our resident duke is stressing over how to propose to Charlotte. But wait a minute, aren't you two already engaged? Irrelevant, he aims to do it right this time. And to do so, after some advice from Charles, is to have a good impression from her parents. Never mind that he's already earned brownie points. He demands they be brought to the manor immediately. Aren't you supposed to go to them instead? You know what? Whatever works. We support you, Your Grace. Go get your girl. Again. Back at the Rania household, Baron Rania reads a letter inside his study when the Baroness walks in with a letter from Isaac. The letter entails how their sons visited Charlotte and even got time to hang out with her. They also learn of their daughter's recovery, much to their relief, and decide to visit the duchy tomorrow. Because that is what is said so in the letter the Baron is reading. Carlyle has taken it upon himself to send them a carriage tomorrow that can get through the Mana Gate so that he can discuss important matters with them. The Baron and Baroness exchange excited glances, already knowing what awaits them. Finally, let's go! While they wait for her parents, Charlotte notes with a raised eyebrow over how antsy Carlyle has been recently. Wow, that's a first! Since when is the Duke ever nervous? He refuses to explain, which only deepens her suspicion. Finally, her parents arrive in tow with a cheerful Theo. As much as she is happy to see her parents, Charlotte is just straight up confused as to why Carlyle is acting like this is his first time meeting them. Carlyle prepares well as he brings the Baroness to the greenhouse, where the yellow flowers local to their hometown are planted, and where a very delicious tea and pastries are set for them both. He even went so far as to bring in foreign tea to her and studied it. His reason? He simply wants to be able to serve his future mother-in-law. The Baroness just chuckles as she drinks her tea, maybe internally glad that her daughter has found a good man. The Baron learns of his wife's giddiness as the Baroness recalls what had occurred during tea time. He also can't wait for what the Duke has instilled for him. Just as long as their daughter is finally happy. However, the next day, just as Baron Rania wakes up to the sound of clashing swords and an outburst from outside, why is Jake sparring with Carlyle early in the morning? Did Carlyle also want to ask his brother-in-law's permission? Ay, not a good start of the day. A panicking Baron Rania rushes outside until Charlotte calls out to him. As it turns out, Jake and Carlyle are merely having a fun spar. How is that fun? Jake had just received from the Duke a new sword, and to test it, they sparred. Even the stoic Isaac is interested and is getting along well with Carlyle. Did he spar with him too? Observing how Charlotte is faring well in the duchy and with Theo, the Baron questions if she's happy with the Duke's treatment with her. There are no words to describe how incredibly happy she is with Carlyle. They made some ups and downs in the beginning, but as days pass, Carlyle is quite kind and considerate. She's just glad her brothers no longer hold a fuming grudge against her man. Contented with her response, her father just smiles even when Theo's adorable behavior rubs off on him. Who wouldn't be happy with a cutie patootie in their arms? Alas, the time has come. The big father and future son-in-law moment we've all been waiting for. Of course, small talk should be there, as the Baron gratefully appreciates how the Duke has been accommodating him and the entire family over their week-long stay in the duchy. Yet, it does not ease Carlyle's nerves as he clenches his fists, trying to stay calm. Aside from the fact that he wants to give a good impression on them, especially the Baron, Carlyle admits he wants to deeply apologize for what happened on their first meeting. He's reminded of the fact that he may have given the Baron a bad impression, which is in fact true. The Baron's words, not mine. The Baron admits he did feel reluctant and uneasy with the Duke wanting to marry Charlotte. Carlyle may be influential, but it didn't sit well with him that the two marry, as they had only met once. As a father, he desired to break them off, but that was before, not now. From his thorough observation, the Baron can tell his daughter is genuinely happy, and he is already content with that. To further make things clear, Carlyle tells the Baron that he is utterly and truly in love with his daughter and wants to gain his trust to be completely devoted to only her by asking for his blessing to propose. What more can a dad do but grant it, right? It's the matter of the heart. The two exchange a smile and a handshake while Carlyle is over the moon. Hurriedly, he rushes to Charles, asking him to prepare immediately for his upcoming, maybe umpteenth proposal. OMG, the end is near and I'm shaking for this proposal! A day has passed since the Rania family stayed over, and Theo mopes terribly, missing his future in-laws. Or is it grandparents already? Charlotte's heart melts at his droopy expression as she attempts to cheer him up with promises of visiting soon, armed with his favorite snack. Until then, he must stay strong and healthy and play with Danny. Theo rallies immediately, picking up big carrots with Danny at the garden with renewed energy. Crisis averted. For now. While the boys occupy themselves with carrots and future carrot-filled foods, Irina strikes without warning, interrogating her about when will his grace propose to her again. Charlotte nearly inhales her tea as Irina smirks teasingly. Charlotte's mind still reels from the question when another realization hits her that she misses Carlyle. Ironic, since she told Theo to endure when she herself can't. He's been buried in work all day. Work, she assumes, until she glances downstairs and spots wagon after wagon parading toward the garden, their contents mysteriously covered. Before curiosity consumes her, Carlyle appears, offering his hand in company. A breather, he suggests. She willingly takes it, not knowing what awaits her. They walk hand in hand down a path scattered with petals. He smiles mysteriously at her questioning glances. Then the garden opens before her, and Charlotte's heart stops. Flowers, hundreds of them, thousands, every bloom native to the barony. Her homeland was transported here through mana gates and sheer determination. He brought pieces of her hometown across the empire just for this moment. And you call yourself unromantic? Sir, you are literally gardening your way into her soul. His voice echoes softly, sincerely, as he only wishes and thinks of ways to make her happy. He will make her happy. Carlyle bends on one knee. A box appears, revealing a ring more beautiful than anything she could imagine. He asks the most important question of all, until... Theo? The baby brother erupts from a pile of flowers like a petal-covered missile. He demands that she say yes, tiny fists pumping. The two laugh at the sudden surprise before she kisses Carlyle's forehead, her answer glowing brighter than any ring. Yay! They are finally getting married! The three embrace, flowers clinging to their clothes, joy radiating through every heartbeat. A new beginning, their reality, finally beautifully theirs. Time again flies by way too quickly. It is the day before the wedding, but it's raining. Charlotte can't help but wish it'll become sunny tomorrow, as she's been so preoccupied with the wedding plans. Thankfully, Theo comes to the rescue, calling her to bed with Carlyle, exclusively claiming he can't sleep without them together. The three peacefully fall to their slumber until they magically appear in the same dream, at the cemetery no less. But it's not creepy, as they saw a man who looks like Carlyle. It's Edgar! As Edgar and Theo look at each other for the first time, the two give each other a cute brotherly hug. Edgar even greets Charlotte, expressing relief that she's a good person for his twin brother. And as for Carlyle, Despite trying to avoid his older brother's gaze, he's sobbing in guilt as he looks at his brother, showing how he is described to be cold now. He is the most sensitive person out there. He was supposed to die instead of him, but Edgar will have none of it because he doesn't regret protecting him. He simply wished Carlyle would let go of the past and the guilt, move forward and live happily. And somehow, after that heartwarming reconnection, the dream ends. The couple wakes up, reminiscing about the dream together in tears, happy and content to share the most awaited day with the people they love. At the wedding, everyone is excited from left and right. Except for certain brothers who are crying over their baby sis getting married. As everyone is instructed to get in line, the bride comes in with her father giving her away to the Duke. It is the happiest occasion in their entire lives, with the Saintess Teresa officiating their marriage. Although the words have already been spoken, they fall on deaf ears between the couple as they can only see nothing but just them lovingly. They soon seal the deal with a passionate kiss. The two, or rather the three of them, are overjoyed that the most awaited moment had finally been done. Their happy ending is just beginning and will continue on forever. Although things may not be as they seem, may it be becoming an NPC, to becoming the male lead's love interest, or even having the power to neutralize mana explosions, I accidentally saved the male lead's brother teaches a valuable lesson to us today. That life will always throw hardships at us, but we don't have to shoulder any of it alone. We just need to have courage and move forward with trembling hands and a determined heart. No regrets. Just love and hope and showing up for the people who matter. Sharing this journey with you all has been an absolute joy. From Carlyle's panic proposals to precious Theo's tearful hugs, every moment was better because you were here. I truly hope you enjoyed the story so far. Thank you, as always, for the incredible support. It means more than words can capture. And I can't wait to bring you my next video.